Chapter 301. Chester looks at me with a confused expression, not exactly catching on to why I'm asking about the auction. He replies anyway. Well, anything really. There are a few of them every month. But I've heard this one is supposed to be one of the most interesting ones in a while. I raise an eyebrow. Why's that? Well, with the recent surges, not only was Solara hit hard. One of the prospectors at the old den told me that the Sector 2 labyrinth had a collapse as well. Luckily, it was defeated by an A rank from the association, but loot always manages to slip out. People have to make their money somehow. He smirks. I reply, interesting. So could we find any mana supplements there? Like bundles of potions or possibly even high-density mana crystals, like Monster Essence. My mind immediately thinks back to the Blue Ogre break my team and I subjugated on our way over here. Those mana supplement crystals and Abby's restoration magic are the only reason we were able to make it this far. Without them, I'm unsure if the labyrinth run could have gone so smoothly. While deep in thought, remembering back to this time, Chester lets out a laugh. You never cease to amaze me, kid. Ha! I know you all are strong hunters and all, but Monster Essence? You think you can handle one of those? I'm surprised you even know what they are. He laughs again. You know what? This might actually be the one time of the season when they would show up at the auction. He scratches his beard. After a labyrinth break would make sense. Essence crystals are rarely farmed from anything under a B-class dungeon. Even so, unless the dungeon is breaking, there isn't enough mana for them to consolidate in the fallen monsters. They're fairly hard to find on the market because the hunter that farmed them would most likely be the only one capable of absorbing the energy within. They're useless to almost everyone except those with exceptional mana control. I nod, curious about the true depths of Chester's knowledge on dungeons and magical items, but I brush it off for now to focus on the main concern at hand. Okay, but just assume I can handle it, or better yet, say I wanted to buy a few of them. What could the 263 gold here possibly get me? Chester pauses, thinking to himself again for a moment, then lets out a reply. It's hard to say. If any show up at the auction and there are no high rollers, any essence you find is as good as yours. Most common people don't know its capabilities nor know anyone able to even absorb them. If you're not an experienced trader or an elite diver, the items just look like fancy gemstones. It's a niche material, extremely valuable but only to the right buyers. This is a special auction, so anything can show up. I'm sure there will be many other crystals and enhancement items aside from just essence stones. So the only way to find out is to attend the auction and see for yourself. I gulp, thinking over the logistics in my head. Fine. Let's head to the auction. The front door swings open as I make my decision. Both Fisher and Ari come walking in with grins on their faces. I mutter under my breath to the old man as they do. We'll continue this conversation once everyone arrives. The archer is the first to make eye contact and speak up. Hey, look who's back so soon. How'd everything go out in the desert today? Any new discoveries? I nod, still thinking about Chester's words about the event tonight, but now switching my train of thought back to my adventures in the desert today. Yeah, a lot, actually. I think it's best we wait for Maria and Abby to get back before sharing. He nods, letting the door shut behind him before the two get comfortable on the couches and eye the bags of money just like I did on the way in. Ari speaks up again after crossing one leg over the other and taking a moment to get situated. So, what's the plan with all that money? You getting a fancy new sword before we take out this boss or something? I nod slowly. Something like that. I was thinking of buying us all an upgrade, but the right offer hasn't come to the table yet. How has refining your new ranked-up abilities come along so far? Ari replies in a satisfied tone. We had a solid training session today. The buffs feel much more natural and adaptable to our fighting styles now. I'm looking forward to trying out these special abilities on the real thing. He turns to the blue-haired water wielder, who speaks up with his arms crossed. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going all out too. He cracks his knuckles. This boss man will be no match for me in my current form. The swordsman glows dark blue but settles down after a moment just to make his point clear. Then he continues in a lighter tone. Anyways, I was almost positive the girls would come back from the black market before you. Looks like you're changing your ways. Huh. I give him an eye roll, noting his usual comment on my punctuality but not in the mood to push it any further. Then my gaze widens. His wording reminds me of something the Sector 4 boss mentioned to the guards as I left. He told them to update number 2 once they finished their cleaning task. That's the elusive black-haired woman with the hush skill I defeated not so long ago. Considering my flight speed away from the observatory and the fact that they're finishing up work, I can assume we have some time to spare. Still, it's not much. I reply. Actually, that reminds me there is something pretty urgent to report. A lot of things, actually. Like clockwork. The door gets a few loud knocks then swings open as both Abby and Maria walk in, practically glowing with the setting sun's golden rays on their backs. The green-haired healer speaks first. Looks like it's a full house. What did we miss? They come over, and I catch everyone up to speed on the events that occurred today. After a few greetings and Chester making a quick meal, I decide not to leave out a single detail about today's events. From the monstrosity I narrowly avoided in the abyss, down to the percentage of stat buffs in the sector leader's gear. They hear it all. The only thing I leave out is the inner workings of how exactly I'm able to channel demonic energy. There's too much going on to explain this carefully now. I chalk it up to a unique skill acquired recently. I'll leave the important details for another day if the occasion makes itself necessary. If we are going to have any chance of taking on 2 leading members of the inner circle, every one of us needs to be on the same page here. We need to get stronger, and with the info provided, we need a plan. After my explanation and a few surprised looks, the 6 of us start to brainstorm. It may sound crazy, but considering the underground lair of a secret organization we just left, along with the high-tech shielding artifacts and never-before-seen magical items, my words of a new power source and mountain-sized monsters aren't difficult to believe. We devise a plan. I'm going to the auction tonight with Chester, bringing all the gold to attempt to buy any and all essence shards, fragments, or upgrade crystals of any kind if they show up. Ari and Fisher are going to guard the black market. With my explanation of the 2 grunts' level, voices, skills, and general age range in mind, they are confident they can subjugate the guards before they get to the office in the dead zone. Maria and Abby have an interesting night ahead. One that was only made possible by a suggestion from me. I'll be dropping them off at the Vice Regent's Labyrinth. To be more exact, the 21st floor where I left off last. It's a risky play, but one that will be worth the reward. The 2 of them are so close to ranking up. It will be a much-needed power boost to give us the edge. The sun sets as we walk out the front door of Chester's home. Preparing for battle. Chapter 302. After Ari and Fisher head off to the black market to keep an eye out for the guards, I walk with Chester, Maria, and Abby to the above-ground dungeon hub while carrying the gold coin stash in my item storage. We all wear red robes to stay anonymous. Chester heads off to a local market to buy a few items for the auction that he says we'll need, while the 3 of us remaining walk through the thick crowds of low-level hunters who are finishing up their daily dungeon dives. Most are coming out of the gates, rather than going in. It's getting late. After paying 10 bronze each to enter one of the rectangular metal shielding crates labeled with LV. 1 to 100 on top of it, we easily walk down the stairs of the buzzing contraption and step through the blue glowing portal. Its layout is eerily similar to the one we were trapped in, but the shielding levels are hardly that of a mid-grade D-class mob. The 3 of us find ourselves in a rocky dungeon with brown dirt and black rocks. The landscape is mountainous with a few sturdy trees, and the air is cold. Doing a quick scan, I find a few level 50 to 60 monsters but don't bother finding out what they are. One could only assume many lower-level Solaran citizens make their living by diving here daily. Both Abby and Maria grab my shoulder, and I dungeon walk them to the 21st floor of the Vice Regent's Labyrinth. The 3 of us stand atop the same white pillar I rested on after my battle with the behemoth. Looking out into the eerie green gargoyle dungeon that feels almost exactly the same as the one we all left in the Solaran Labyrinth days ago, we agree to meet back here on the 21st floor in no more than 4 hours. That should be enough time for them to rank up and come back down. However, it won't be nearly enough time to practice their buffs. Still, Chester and I will have finished our dealings at the auction. The goal is to spend every last coin on optimal upgrade crystals for the upcoming fight. I teleport away as the two of them use their elemental magic to hurry toward the boss room and onward to higher floors where they can level up much more easily. I'm a little jealous. I'd like to see what's high up in this labyrinth too. As Chester said, according to the population of the surrounding city, it should have at least twice as many floors as the one I just defeated. After this is all over, I'll have plenty of time to explore. I teleport back to the Solaran dungeon hub and exit to find Chester waiting exactly where we decided on the outer edge of the square. He hands me a black mask. You'll need this for the event. Other than the security detail, all faces and identities are kept secret during the bidding. It's only fair, letting outsiders be more comfortable in their business dealings. I take the smooth face covering, about the same size as a transmission tablet, only able to cover the top half of my facial features. There are holes for eyes, and at the bottom half there's a curved section that stops halfway down the nose. I use my appraisal skill, but nothing shows up. It's just a dark ceramic mask. Even though there are no enchantments, it reminds me of my time back in my hometown when I wore a mask to fight in that underground fighting ring. It's how I earned my fire-imbued sword titled the Flame Emperor. The thought of this also brings back a few memories of the time I was ambushed after leaving my first auction just a few days before then. However, it's more nostalgic than frightening. If I can grow as much as I have from then to now, it just means I can do it again. I reply, placing the mask on my face and covering up with my red hood. For an extra layer of security, I shift my face and hair to look more similar to the citizens of the Dark Continent. Even if my eyes are covered, it's still a safe bet to make the rest of me unrecognizable as well. Got it, lead the way. Chester holds his own identical mask by his side and turns to walk through the busy nighttime city streets. The crowds of hunters, businessmen, and normal city folk, along with the cool night air, are calming. I follow the old man past a few of the silver towers near the middle and northern edge of town until we come across a well-lit sand-colored building with tall steps that lead up to an impressive entrance. There are many tall pillars across the building's front side, over 20 meters high, sporting arches between each of them covered in intricate hand-sculpted art. Many guards stand at the bottom of the stairway but don't seem to move or bat an eye as people walk by up the steps. They must be looking out for certain individuals. There are a few well-dressed parties in masks similar to the ones Chester purchased moments ago. Ours look dull compared to the red, orange, white, and bedazzled designs that catch my eyes. Men arrive in suits while women walk in bright-colored dresses. Aside from the couples, there are a lot of lone hunters in higher D and C-grade gear with simple masks like ours, making us seem much less underdressed. Lastly, there are a few groups of businessmen that crowd the entrance at the top of the stairs. If I had to guess, these are agents and speculators hired by companies whose CEOs are too busy to show up themselves. They most likely give these men a budget and offer a small percentage of the profits back on any earnings after the fact. With my careful gaze satisfied at the information gathered so far, we walk past the guards and climb the sturdy sandstone steps. A tall and thin man in a suit with an even thinner mustache greets us at the top of the steps and offers to check us in. A party of two? Will you be watching, selling, or buying tonight? Chester replies, we'll be buying. A premium booth would be appreciated. The greeter's eyes glisten as he nods and turns around. A premium buyer's party? Excellent, right this way. We'll do a screening before I send you to your seats. The event is about to begin. Both of you are right on time. There's a red-carpeted entrance hall, and the walls are lined with artwork and displays of interesting-looking items, to say the least, but nothing that I haven't seen before in my travels. Still, investors are surrounding them, placing bids in increments of silver coins. I'd pay more attention to the beautiful architecture, but the man that we follow has a status that piques my interest. He's level 264 and has simple rings and amulets of protection on, but he also has a unique skill privacy cage. It's one I've never seen before, but I have a few interesting theories about what it does. He turns to a hallway near the back of the entrance hall, and we're brought to a small corridor that seems to lead upward. Before we can walk any further, the greeter activates his skill. A cube of gray light encapsulates the three of us, and the bustling crowds outside stop chattering in my inner ear. It's also impossible to see outside the skills walls. I'm sure I could break through with my pinky, but it's very intriguing. Similar to my newest hush ability, but with an added layer of protection. Sight. He takes out a silver tablet. I'll need your full name, occupation, a look at your status, and visual confirmation you've come with over 25 gold to be appointed a premium buyer's booth. Chapter 303. The minimum amount needed on hand to be eligible for a premium buyer's booth is 25 gold coins. In comparison to my stash, it isn't much, but to the average citizen, it's quite a lot. Even well-off level D-class hunters would be lucky to make even 5 gold a year. Most of the population could only dream of surpassing this rank, and that's back in the Vice region. The salaries of upper-middle-class families hardly breach 10 gold coins. With average meals costing just a few bronze, and a rented room less than a few silver a month, 25 gold is an absurd amount to be spending on art or gear at an auction. Considering this, I'll need to come up with an alias. No normal citizen would come walking in here with hundreds of gold. The guide casting a sound and sight barrier around us waits patiently. Chester is the first to take off his mask, pulling up his status and telling the man all the necessary details. Meanwhile, I change my numbers on my status to look strong, but reasonable at the same time. I end up leaving my advanced fire magic as well as special grade body hardening active for the man to see. They're strong skills, but not incredibly rare to the point where I'd look like a unique talent. Along with this, I change my level to 439 and my name to Thorn Darkwood. It's the first idea that comes to mind and feels fitting to my altered appearance. I flip the blue text screen toward me and take the mask off my face to reveal a face similar to that of a battle-seasoned Dark Continent native underneath. My occupation is a mercenary, and my budget tonight is well over 25 gold. I reach under my red cloak and into a secret spatial magic portal to pull out one of the money bags. There's nearly 100 gold in one of these. I'm looking to buy a few items to aid me in my work, weapons or crystals that catch my eye. His eyes gaze upon the bag of gold but hardly react. The man is a professional. He writes down a few things on his tablet, nods, then motions for us to put our masks back on before taking the barrier down around us. Very well. Chester, it's good to see you back here again. I hope we didn't catch you too off guard. The new identification requirements are for premium buyers only because of a few unique items brought in tonight. If you'd like to stay completely anonymous, just keep in mind that the top 2 listings may be monitored post-purchase. Chester nods, and then the man turns to me. Thorn, I hope you find your time at the auction tonight successful. It's wonderful to see new rising talents in Sector 4. With your budget, I'm sure you'll find exactly what you're looking for. He shows a kind smile, then turns. Please, right this way. We're led up the narrow corridor about 3/4 of the way until our guide unlocks a sturdy wooden door. Clicks open and we walk through. My eyes widen through the black ceramic mask as I take in the view. The door leads to a small balcony that looks over a sea of people. With red velvet couch-like seating and a thin golden privacy curtain with the option to close off the entire curved edge of the booth, we walk into the premium seating to look down at the stage below. Our guide hands us a silver lightweight paddle with the number 12 in bold black lettering on the front of it. He bows. Again, I do hope you enjoy the event tonight. I'll be your representative and the only one who knows the identity paired with your number paddle. Please do meet me in the entrance hall after the auction to pay for the items you've won. The subtle green mist from my lie detector skill activates as I try to decipher his words about our identities. It seems they really are confidential as far as this man is concerned. He speaks the truth. The door closes behind him with a click, and I let out a sigh of relief that I wasn't even aware I was holding in. As we sit down on opposite sides of the booth while taking in the view around us, the lights in the wide-open auction house begin to dim. There's an echoing click as the stage below has a bright white light shine upon it. Then a well-built Solaran man in a royal blue suit walks out from behind the right side of the platform to make his way up toward a podium at the front. There's an empty display table in front of him. His voice rings out clearly as if he's speaking right in my ear. Welcome, all. I hope you enjoyed the pre-auction events and made your purchases on the overflow of items outside. The room is silent with all eyes on him. But tonight, this is the event you've all been waiting for. One of the largest Solaren-hosted auctions to date, with 189 individual parties here and 12 premium buyers. I'm sure we're in for quite the show. Another bright white light flicks on, and a beautiful woman in a shimmering red dress walks out with a collection of silver daggers all floating around her body in a circle. The stage light reflects off the blades in a dazzling display. We're not here to waste your time, and I'm sure you're all eager to start the bidding. So I'll keep my introduction short. The top 30 items have been appraised by our board and will be presented to you all today in ascending order of value. Some of which are rare high-grade battle weapons only available to the elite, while others are unique artifacts that have never seen the light of day. Some oohs and ahs come from the crowd as the woman places the swords in the display case in front of the speaker using an ability similar to my telekinesis, not touching any of the items with her hands. No matter who you are or where you come from, there is only one rule tonight. Whoever pays the highest price may take the item home. Now let's begin. My gaze starts to wander around the event hall after appraising the daggers to see they're a set of 5, all with 20 to 50% strength and agility buffs. A great item set for a C-class squad, but far under what I care to pay attention to right now. People begin bidding in increments of 10 silver on the floors below as I appraise my real competition, the other premium buyers. There is one booth below the one Chester and I are sitting in, and 2 more columns of dual booths to the right of us on the same side of the auction hall, moving further away from the stage. Out on the other side of the room, I see 6 more premium buyer parties filling the other booths in an identical fashion. Some have their curtains closed, while others peer out to observe the crowd and event just like me. None care to bid on the item set being offered now. The announcer's voice rings out as I concentrate back on the main event. Sold. To the man up front, buyer 103. Let us continue the auction. The red-dressed woman continues to bring weapons and artifacts out, and the bidding numbers get higher and higher. Even bundles of extremely rare potions like the gold and blue ones Chester pushed us to save pass by. As the items get pricier, fewer and fewer people make offers. However, there are still a lot of back and forths happening down below. Well over a dozen listings go by. I hardly bat an eye until the 16th item of the night finally piques my interest. The announcer speaks up as my eyebrows raise. Now we've hit the halfway point. This is where the real fun begins. To start the second half of our night off right, I'll be bringing out one of the stars of the show. A truly unique collection of magic stones. This will surely turn the heads of our highest esteemed collectors in the house tonight. The woman comes walking out from backstage with a dozen large emerald green stones floating above her head. They give off a powerful mana-imbued glow. Activating my appraisal skill, I find each of them labeled Serpent King's Essence, with between 600k and 700k MP available for absorption in each of them. This bundle alone is almost 8 million MP. My heart starts to speed up, and I lean over the edge of the booth just slightly to get a closer look. This is exactly what I've been waiting for. This being the middle point of the event, one can only assume the strength of the stones will only go up from here. If I can land a reasonable price for a few sets of these during the auction, it will be a great success. We'll get another serious upgrade, and I won't have to worry as much about my teammates in the heat of our future battle. I whisper under my breath, "Finally, we're getting to the good part." As soon as I subconsciously let out a wide grin and get ready to raise my paddle, a young man across the room in the premium buyer booth labeled number 1 raises his own. "I'd like to start the bidding at 25 gold. His shimmering silver mask and sharp blue eyes are visible even in the dim light of the auction house. With a tall stature and bright blonde hair, sporting a light gray suit, I suspect he's no more than 30 years old. Cursing under my breath at his overly inflated starting bid, I do a full scan using Inspect and Appraisal. LV 824. Active items. A. Access denied. Active skills. A. Access denied. Buffs. A. Access denied. The results are not what I was expecting to see. Whoever this is, it looks like he's my real competition tonight. Chapter 304. He bid 25 gold for an item only halfway into the auction. This mystery buyer is already making himself known. As I calculated before, the bundle of stones is nearly 8 million MP, so it's over 90% off the market price. If I were to buy this much in potion form, even with the Dark Continent price discount, it'd take all of my 263 gold. Still, I'm trying to get as many of these essence stones as possible for the lowest price. A bid of 25 gold for 8 million MP is pushing my limit. If this is the going price, I'd only be able to buy 10 of the same value, averaging about 80 million total MP for the night. Divided by all 5 of us that are looking to absorb it, that brings our total down to 16 million MP each. It's an exorbitant amount, but it's not the overwhelming advantage that I'm looking to come out of here with. Plus, the bidding hasn't even started yet. This would be the best-case scenario, hoping that this man in the silver mask doesn't bid too much higher. The announcer speaks, replying to the offer received. And we've got our starting bid of 25 gold from premium buyer number 1. These items are truly a unique collection of gems, farmed from a collapsing B-grade dungeon out in Sector 3 following the most recent surge. The eyes of the crowd down below reflect the green gems' vibrancy as the woman places them on the red velvet display table. I can't help but notice the fact that the announcer did not go into detail on what exactly these gemstones do, unlike his in-depth descriptions and stat readings of some of the past items. It seems that the higher-priced portion of the auction, it's more of a if you know type of deal. He continues, "Now, let us start the bidding in increments of 1 gold coin." I raise my paddle, but to my surprise, almost half of the other premium buyers do as well. The crowd below erupts in whispers as the announcer's voice rings out clear as day in all of our ears. "That's 26 gold from number 12. No, 27 gold from number 5. 28 from..." He goes on, and the buy price keeps rising higher. I back out once the price passes 35 coins, observing the event unfold before me. The buyer in booth number 1 stands out over his balcony while raising his paddle as the announcer accepts a 36 gold bid from the buyer right below me. The silver-masked man speaks in the same voice he did previously to make his first bid. "I bid 75 gold." The room falls silent, but the announcer fills the vacuum in a professional tone. "Our new highest bidder. Booth 1 bids 75 gold. Going once, going twice, 3 times, and sold." After a few sighs from other booths and the excited whispers of crowd members, the green gems are taken off stage, and I'm left in a state of shock, whispering under my breath, "This is not going to be as simple as I initially thought." I turn to Chester. He's thoroughly enthralled by the gems as well as the woman in the red dress as she walks backstage to retrieve the next item. As soon as he feels my gaze, the old man realizes what I'm implying and responds, "Tough competition tonight. It seems there are some other strong parties involved." I nod while thinking to myself, sure, 75 gold for 8 million MP is still well under market price, but it's much worse than my initial estimate. 3 times as worse, actually. I clench my jaw as the next set of shimmering silver swords with 70% strength buffs are all brought out to be displayed. My eyes gloss over without a care in the world for these common items as the auction continues. Armor sets, platinum rings, and enchanted artifacts all found in high C-grade and low B-grade dungeons from sectors 3 and 4 are brought out. They all sell for between 10 and 15 gold to premium buyers and a few members of the general audience. Nothing compares to the excitement in the air from those green gems until the 24th item set of the night comes forth. My eyes perk up as a bundle of gray stones with white energy swirling through them catches the corner of my eye and activates my appraisal skill. Black stone golem fragments X11. As my careful eyes closely inspect each of them, I conclude that these may be worth my while. Each of them holds over 4.5 million MP, some of them nearing 5 million. The total here is about 50 million. Whatever monstrous golems these fragments dropped from are no joke. Back when I farmed blue ogres, The mobs only dropped 100 to 250k per stone. Even the anomaly that took in nearly the entire dungeon's mana expenditure and hundreds of essence shards is only twice as much as just these 11 stones. One can only imagine how strong they are, but my daydreaming about them will have to wait. The announcer's voice begins the next round of bidding. A collection of magic stones from the Sector 2 Labyrinth break. A very rare item set indeed. Considering our last batch of similar items sold for an extraordinary price, one can assume the price on these will climb much higher. He pauses. Just a word from the auctioneer to buyers out there, our appraisal team has gauged the recommended use for these gems to be around level 700 and above. High-grade gems like these don't come around often. This is truly a one-of-a-kind treasure. Silence fills the room once again, but the first to break the noise is the silver-masked man. 100 gold coins. With a wide smile, the event host replies, "Very well. 100 gold to number 1. We shall raise the bids by 5 gold per offering." I raise my paddle. That's 105 gold from number 12. No one but the silver-masked man raises their paddle back. 110 gold to number 1. 115 for number 12. 120 for number 1. We go back and forth, raising the price on each other with every bid. Not a single paddle raises from any of the other buyers. From a quick appraisal scan to appease my curiosity, I see none of them are anywhere near number 1's level. Whoever this is, he must be investing for his own personal use. As Chester explained before the auction, items like these hardly sell on the open market. This is because, to most people who can't handle absorbing millions of MP, they're just pretty gems that depreciate over time as the mana flows out of them. To the man across the room and also to myself, this is a 50 million MP pool of mana waiting to be absorbed. I grit my teeth as he yells out, raising his paddle high into the air. 200 gold. I bid 200 gold. The entire room falls silent, and so do I as a pearly white grin can be seen under the bottom portion of his mask. I could bid higher, but who's to say he won't just let me take this and burn my pockets for the still 6 remaining items to come. His inflated prices now could all be a tactic to bleed the medium-sized fish like myself early on to get the best prices on the rarest items near the end. I let out a sigh and take a step back as the announcer looks around and counts up to 3. Sold. To number 1 for 200 gold. What a show. We have a real magic gem connoisseur on our hands tonight. Crowd. The audience is going wild with whispers, laughter, and cheers. Even Chester's eyes are open wide. He whispers to me, "I've never seen such a lively event in years. If this isn't even the main star of the show, I'm sure we're in for quite the treat. Don't worry, the best is yet to come." I tighten my lips as they prepare the next item for public sale. I'm not quite sure what to think. It's almost impossible to compete with a masked man and his endless pockets. Then again, I'm happy I didn't bid higher and spend all my gold on 50 million MP when there's a possibility of a better deal to come. However, my happiness wanes as the next few items roll out. Sets of enchanted gear passing 100% buffs and bundles of element stones in containment cases ready for fusion into weapons are the next few items that show. Most go for 20 to 30 gold, sold to the other regular premium buyers. These are all incredibly rare pieces, and they can be used by anyone. So keeping them in their possession and waiting for resale in a shortage or using the items themselves to fight off stronger monsters is well worth the investment. Most practical investors and collectors come to the auction for items like these. I, for one, am looking for something else. As more and more items pass, the growing feeling of dread fills my stomach. If I can't manage to buy any items tonight that will boost my entire team's strength to new heights, our extraction mission to save Lydia and my curiosity to confront the craftsman from another sector may all be very compromised. I'd have to rely on the newly ranked up abilities of my team members, plus my ability to wield demonic energy as a trump card. There's too much uncertainty in this loosely strung together excuse of a plan. I need something that will help change the odds. The announcer's voice and the sight of over half a dozen blood-red crystals larger than my open palm completely change my growing anxiety into a source of hope. This relief comes in the form of hundreds of millions of MP swirling within just 7 stones. Our second to last item set of the night. A collection of ruby red gems. Collected as the final drop from the Sector 2 Labyrinth collapse, we've managed to bring them all the way here for all of you to see. Now, without further ado, let us start the bidding at once. Chapter 305. I scan the crimson gems with every one of my perception skills as they float around the gorgeous woman until each of them rests gently on the display table at center stage. Red Hydra's Soulstone Fragment X7. They don't bear the usual Essence Fragment, or Essence Shard labeling, but Soulstone Fragment instead. These are definitely much different than the magic stones I've seen before. Clearly, in my appraisal skills text boxes, two more readings catch my attention. The first is the 45 to 50 million MP stored in each one of these stones available to be absorbed, and the second is the line of text beneath it. Permanent buff. Red Hydra's Rage. There's no in-depth description or conditions to go along with it. I'm just left wondering what exactly these gems can do. However, before I'm kept deep in thought for too long, the announcer's voice breaks my concentration. This bundle of items is truly unique. A batch of stones with its exact capabilities has never met the open market before and will most likely never meet the market again. They sparkle under the spotlight, captivating the audience with their endless dazzling radiance. I rethink the announcer's previous words. He did say they were the final drop from the Sector 2 Labyrinth. If he really speaks the truth, this could be one of the special floor boss drops that is unique to every 20 floors. It could quite possibly be a one-of-a-kind item, never to be seen again. This only makes me more curious about what the added buff can do. My only problem will be if premium buyer number 1 is just as eager to find out as me. The announcer continues. Now, the seller who brought this item in tonight declared they would not take less than 100 gold. So we'll start the bidding there. Based on our magic stone track record so far, I have a feeling this won't be an issue to match. The gentleman on stage smiles brightly as the woman in the red dress walks over to stand by his side. Meanwhile, the room goes silent. I gulp while expecting the silver-masked man to make an outrageous bid. However, for some reason, the bid never comes. Whispers start to fill the room, and the joy-filled smile of the announcer starts to droop. He gulps nervously but keeps a professional face while staring out at the crowd. His eyes dart to the side as I decide to start the bidding myself, raising my paddle and stepping forward into the dim light. He calls out immediately as I do, bringing the energy back to the room. That's what I like to see. 100 gold for premium buyer number 12. We'll be raising the bids by 10 gold for every offer from here on out. The man in the silver mask steps forward and slowly raises his paddle in reply, and the announcer gets back into his groove. 110 gold from buyer number 1. I retaliate with a grin to cover up my nerves while raising my paddle. 120 gold for buyer number 12. 130, 140, 150 for buyer number 1. My stomach drops lower as the bids get higher. So far, the good news is he didn't immediately bid over my budget and make it impossible for me to win. Also, the man across from me takes longer to raise his paddle every time, leaving the crowd in silence before he does. I raise back immediately each time. The bad news is, even though it takes him a moment, he keeps raising it and bidding anyway. This mystery buyer has already spent hundreds of gold tonight and seems to have pockets with no bottoms in sight. I need to change something up, or else I'm going home completely empty-handed. I could wait for the last item of the night after this one, but that would be foolish. I already tested my luck to its limit waiting this long. I have exactly what I need right in front of my eyes. If I bid all in at 263 gold right now, it would seem too odd a number to be random. To any logical buyer, this would seem like I'm going all in because I am. Number 1 would just have to bid one more time, and I'd be out of luck. Bidding 260 is a cleaner number in the designated increments of 10, but it gives the same effect. It's too random to mean I'm not at my limit. A much safer bid is 250 gold. It's clearly an inflated price to scare away the competition. It is higher than the last absurd price number 1 throughout, and it's a significant leap up higher than anything I've bid on other items tonight. It would show that I want this item and will pay whatever I need to get it. However, if anyone calls my bluff and bids 10 gold higher, I'm out of luck yet again. My final option other than incrementally pushing the price up is a large 240 gold bid. This may be the worst option. It tells my opponent exactly how much gold I have to pay. It shows I'm scared to bid 250 to provoke my opponent to challenge me, and it also implies that I want to have a safety net of one bid just in case they do. It's basically yelling out to the crowd exactly how much gold I have on hand. I grit my teeth, raise my paddle, and make the most reasonable choice there is. I bid 250 gold. The announcer points upward and opens a palm in the air at me, and the crowd fills with even more energy. A new highest bid of the night. Buyer number 12 bids 250 gold. He walks around the stage as the crowd dies down. All eyes are on the man in the silver mask now as he stares forward and begins to scratch his chin. The announcer continues to speak. Are there any other bids? That's 250 gold to buyer 12. Going once. My heart starts to beat loudly in my chest. Going twice. I can't help but dart my eyes back and forth from the glistening stones to the man who could bid just 10 more gold and take them away from me. Going. He grips his paddle as the announcer begins to finish his words. 3 times. My breathing becomes heavy. And the silver-masked man releases his tight grip and takes a step back, disappearing into the shadowy privacy of his booth. Sold. Our second to last item of the night is sold to buyer number 12. Please don't forget to see your guide in the entrance hall after the show. I hope you're satisfied with this one-of-a-kind purchase. The crowd erupts again, and the pressure in my chest subsides. I laugh and fall back onto the red-cushioned couch next to Chester, letting out a long sigh. I pulled it off. I managed to get exactly what I came for. As the crowd settles and the gems are brought backstage into storage, they get ready for the final item of the night. I'm overjoyed, but Chester looks concerned. He whispers to me, and I reflexively put up a small hush barrier to listen. You're aware of the strength of those stones, aren't you? I nod. Yes, of course. Almost 50 million MP each. A steal for 250 gold, right? He looks at me with a puzzled expression. They're one-time use gems. Once absorption starts, whatever you can manage to take in during one sitting is all the mana you will receive. Plus, that buff is only available to those who absorb enough of the soulstone for it to bond with you. Well, those are the conditions for similar items I've dealt with in the past. Nothing of this magnitude, but I've seen lesser variants of soulstones, so I'm positive that is how they work. This is easily an A+ rank item. I doubt there are more than 5 people on this whole continent that can handle absorbing it fully. The old man continues his nervous rambling, but I can tell he's secretly excited to get the chance to examine the crystals once I let him get his hands on one of them. I, on the other hand, piece together why buyer number 1 most likely dropped out of the bidding. If these are truly one-time use A+ rank gems, they are graded for over level 1000 or higher for minimum consumption. If this man is just shopping for his own power-boosting needs, bidding a small fortune on a gamble item is senseless. My satisfaction only increases as I conclude that I snagged an even better price than I initially thought. If there was an A rank in the audience or someone who could actually absorb these stones, I would have surely been outbid. Before I can celebrate too much, I lower my hush barrier and sit straight up as the final item of the night comes out from behind the curtains of the stage's backside. It's a single jet black sword without a hint of mana present in it. My perception skills also don't pick up any readings at all. Only one thing comes to mind as the white stage light reflects over the glossy weapon's surface. It's a demonic sword. Chapter 306. A long black sword with an identical dark glossy shine to my newest dagger floats around the woman as she brings it to center stage before resting it on the red velvet display table. I immediately recognize it as having a demonic origin. The announcer speaks over the whispers of the crowd. This is an item confirmed to have come from within the abyss. At these words, all chatter ceases. Found near the border of Sector 3 and Sector 4 by a group of mercenaries, it was covered in a pile of gear from a party that set out to explore the day before. The seller, who is a leader of the mercenary group in Sector 3, is unaware of how exactly this item came to be. Only one thing is clear: the monster that used to wield it came from the darkness that constantly approaches our cities. Everyone knows the abyss is only a recent phenomenon. Could disappear tomorrow, or it could consume us all. Hardly any information is known about its nature. This treasure could be the key to unlocking countless more lost to its dark depths. And on top of that, it's a once-in-a-lifetime piece to add to your collection. He pauses, inwardly smiling about the pitch he so intricately announced. The seller of this item will take no less than 500 gold for the item presented. It is, after all, the first artifact to hit the open market in Sector 4, confirmed by our appraisal team to be a genuine piece from the abyss. Silence follows again. Now, do we have any takers? No one says a word. Everyone in the premium booths takes steps back away from the balcony, and the floor seats below seem to be in shock. The looming abyss that many fled from over the past few months is a taboo to bring up out of the blue. The tension in the air is eerie. Mention of the unknown threat is a topic that everyone delicately tiptoes around in their usual day-to-day lives, as if navigating a minefield. However, one man relieves the crowd of its silence. "I'll gladly take it. I bid 500 gold. The man who withdrew from my 250 gold bid for a priceless set of gems moments ago now bids double on the ominous black sword. He did so knowing not a single other buyer would dare to bid against him. This brings up the question of why. Why did he actually withdraw from purchasing those stones if he has this much spare cash on hand? Is the dagger in my inventory made of the same material worth just as much? Did he know what the final item was going to be and wanted to save his gold to purchase it? Does he have other motives for letting me win those gems? Or am I just overthinking things? All these questions twist through my mind as countless others at the event ponder questions of their own. Meanwhile, the announcer counts to 3 and the sword is sold. Not a single other bidder tries to step in. On this odd ending note, the woman in the sparkling red dress brings the black sword backstage, and the announcer closes out the show. Everyone is left speechless. It's a very awkward ending for tonight's auction, but once the sight of that sword leaves the room, many begin to lighten up again and the normal chatter starts to come back. As the doors in every booth open, and many exits in the auditorium below click to follow, the announcer speaks. "Thank you all for coming out tonight. It's been one of our most competitive auctions in years. I hope you all got what you came for and enjoyed the show. Please exit in a timely manner and meet your identification guide to purchase your won items. Again, I thank you all. Have a wonderful night." The curtains on the stage close as the lights all turn back up to their full luminosity. People begin to leave the large room at once. I sit back and wait for the rushing crowds to calm down. I'm in no rush to leave and would rather not have over 100 people's prying eyes looking at me as I go to claim my winnings. As anonymous as I may be in a mask and with my conceal skill activated, it never hurts to be too careful. More than 5 minutes pass, and hardly a peep can be heard from the main room. At this, Chester and I make our way down the narrow corridor back to the entrance hall. Waiting just outside is the tall guide with his distinctive thin mustache that brought us in. He's having a hard time containing his smile. My guess is he'll be getting quite the perks from handling this transaction. Still, the man speaks up in a smooth and professional tone. "I'm happy to see you found an item you liked at the auction tonight. Please, right this way and we'll make the transaction final." We're led through the entrance hall where a handful of identically dressed guides are leading other buyers to small tables that line the walls, as well as a few side trading rooms where the purchased items were saved and sorted during the show. It seems a lot of the common items sold during the first half of the auctions are here outside, while the more valuable gear and materials are traded in private. Chester and I are brought into a small room consisting of only a table, a notepad, and a large black briefcase with a silver handle. We're enveloped in a barrier of sound and sight-blocking magic as the man activates his skill and the door closes behind us. He opens the case with 2 clicks. The low hum of a containment field sounds out, and the 7 beautiful crimson gems come into view. At the same moment, I reach under my cloak and pull out the 3 bags of money. I take 13 coins back from the pile to make it an even 250. That should be everything. He nods, diligently counting as I closely examine the gems. Even through the white glow of the containment artifact lining the inside of this case, I can feel their power emanating out, and a red aura seeps from the magical seal. They're yearning to be absorbed and used, and I'm eager to see the power they're capable of granting. The guide looks up from the piles of gold and smiles. Looks like you're spot on. This is everything we need from you. The gems are now yours to keep, and please take the containment case as a token of our appreciation. We look forward to seeing you again in future auctions, Mr. Darkwood. I smile, taking 3 of the 13 remaining coins from the leftovers and placing them on the table away from the stash. Thank you. I appreciate the help tonight. I've got exactly what I came for. He gladly accepts, bringing down the privacy shield while placing the piles of gold into an item box with a Solaran logo printed on the side of it and placing the 3 gold I tipped him in a separate pocket of his suit. I stare down at the gems for a few more moments, then close the case and place it in my item storage beneath my robe. As the door to our private trading room opens, the person who greets me on the way out takes me by surprise. The friendly gesture of an outstretched hand raises toward me. It belongs to the man in the silver mask. Nice to meet you, buyer number 12. I don't often find such interesting bidding competition out here in Sector 4. Chapter 307. As my gaze lifts from the outstretched hand before me, up to the shimmering silver mask of the man I was bidding against all night, I immediately go on high alert. Activating my perception skills, I come to see his status is still blocked to me for some reason. It is only showing those odd, access denied messages next to every spot where items, skills, and buffs are meant to be. His tone while greeting me isn't hostile, and it would not be logical to pull anything too nefarious while under the roof of an event hall like this. If we were outside or completely alone, it would be a different story. I shake his hand and put on a professional smile to reply. Nice to meet you too, number 1. My stomach still drops while looking at the man's intensely sharp blue eyes, but my battle experience has taught me it's best to put on a cool front at all times. He smiles, showing perfectly straight pearly white teeth. The name is Lith Galehart. I prefer not to go by number 1. So please call me Lith. He continues after a short pause. We were the top 2 buyers of the night. Our names will be in the public sales records anyway. There's no point in keeping secrets that will be shared eventually. His words remind me of the warning my guide said before the auction. The top 2 items of the auction may be tracked because of their perceived value. I have an alias, so it doesn't matter much. Chester, on the other hand, will be linked to this sale. I respond while releasing the grip of our firm handshake. Thorn Darkwood. I wasn't expecting to get so much mileage out of this name, but it seems my choices tonight will have much longer-lasting effects than expected. He responds. Association, Inner Circle, Black Ops, or a solo mercenary? Who do you work for? My eyebrows raise higher and higher at every word that comes out of his mouth, but I instantly reply once he finishes speaking. Solo. I work by myself. The tightening of his gaze makes me wonder if he really believes me or if he's able to see right through my disguise. Now that I have a moment to think about my situation, I can't tell a thing about him, actually. With such a level of difference and lack of information, this silver-masked man is in total control of the conversation. He reaches into a chest pocket and pulls out a thin silver piece of metal in the shape of a rectangular card. It's a few millimeters thick at most but carries some weight to it. Lith motions for me to take it. No matter what your actual origin is, you're a very intriguing individual, Thorn. If you're ever in the area around Valor City, know you can always get work from my guild. No strings attached. I hesitate to grab the metal card, so he continues, sensing the tension. Really, no strings attached. We offer jobs asked by anonymous buyers. If it's within your capabilities, the guild will offer it. You may accept and get paid upon completion or decline without consequence. I nod, understanding the line of business he's describing very well, but not understanding why he's explaining it to me here of all places. I let out a sigh and accept the silver card. However, the moment I do, he turns to leave, disappearing into the crowd of people behind before I can think to get another word in. With my mouth left open, I looked down at the shimmering piece of metal and let out the breath that was just about to ask him why he chose to invite me. Instead, I stay silent while reading the line text over the glossy silver surface of the item. It just has the logo of swirling lines that mimic a breeze with his last name printed above it, Galeheart Mercenary Guild. Below the logo and guild name, there's an address in Valor City. My eyebrows scrunch as I try to make out what just happened. Did he just try to recruit me for his mercenary group? Where is Valor City? And are there really no strings attached? There's always strings attached. I continue to stare down at the card in confusion as the hall starts to clear out, coming to the consensus that all of this recent backstabbing, betrayal, and running away from monsters that want to kill me has made me more paranoid than ever. Still, it's for a good reason. I'm still working on slipping away from the association that sold me out and tried to have me killed. Plus, I'm working on dismantling the inner circle and rescuing my teammates from the inside before they catch on. Things are a bit complicated right now. It's not in my best interest to get a third party involved for no reason. I put the card away and begin walking toward the door. Chester follows close behind with a puzzled expression on his face. I can't tell if it's excitement or terror. His skin is a few shades paler than usual, so the safe bet is the latter. We step out of the auction house's front steps and make our way down the street we came from, back to the Dungeon Hub Square, before I finally put up a small hush barrier. What's going on? You've been pale and silent like you've seen a ghost. Did you know that guy? Is it something else? He's gone now, and he doesn't even know my real name. I doubt he'll come after you. Chester doesn't reply. Come on. I'm sure he would have made things a lot more hostile if he was really mad at me for outbidding him on these soul stones. He could have bought them himself if he really wanted to. Chester gulps and finally responds. Oh, he most definitely could have bought those stones if he wished. That was the leader of the Galeheart Guild. They call him the man hidden in the wind. The fact that he came from Sector 1 all the way to Sector 4 just for this auction. No, the fact that we even saw him in person. He talked to you directly. There's a smile growing across Chester's face now that makes it seem like he's more of a fanboy than afraid of the so-called man hidden in the wind. I reply, who is he? I know he's strong, stronger than me, but what are you talking about? He's from Sector 1? A well-known mercenary or something? The old man nods, letting out a breath and bringing himself together. Well-known? Sure. A mercenary? No, I'm not sure you could call him that. He's mostly talked about in the high-end collector's circles. For the right price, he'll get teams to farm any dungeon you need or retrieve any order of materials no matter the drop rate. He's the main supplier for legitimate businesses in the craftsman and collector's fields here in the Dark Continent. I nod, but Chester keeps speaking before I think to get a word in. It's rumored he came from the mainland outside the walls of the continent to make a name for himself in a newer growing market with less competition. His only true competitors out here are the Inner Circle, related gangs, and other smaller private mercenary groups. However, his group is known to be the best and most legitimate. That's why long-term public contracts with the Galeheart Guild are a big deal. I haven't done business with his guild in well over a decade, but I still keep close tabs on the collector's world. Chester laughs. Oh, how the times have changed. The fact that this man is a well-known collector and businessman in the strongest sector of the Dark Continent isn't what stands out to me the most. It's the fact that Chester said he hasn't done business with him in over a decade. The man I met tonight was no more than 30 years old by the look of his visible facial features. Either he managed to build a business empire in his teens, found the cure for aging, or his whole getup was a carefully concealed disguise. Given the nature of his blocked status, the last doesn't seem too far-fetched. Although, scarily enough, the first two don't seem unreasonable either. Deep in thought, the two of us make it back to the above-ground dungeon hub one step at a time. With the presence of a strong third party making himself known in the city, it only reminds me of how much I don't know about this continent as a whole compared to the mainland. Everything that goes on here is kept a secret from the outside world. However, as the rectangular shielding contraptions that guard the dungeons come into my line of sight, a new thought creeps into my mind. I wonder what buffs Abby and Maria got from their rank-ups. Chapter 308. The late-night city streets are dark, calm, and quiet. After going back to the same shielded dungeon entrance and paying the 10 bronze fee to get inside, I step into the E-Class portal to teleport back to the Vice City Labyrinth's 21st floor. Chester waits near the outer rim of the dungeon square as I do. It's been a few hours since we left for the auction house, so I should be right on time. The moment I teleport back onto the marble white pillar standing high above the green clouds, my sense proves my assumption right. The presence of 2 familiar readings shows up in my mind's eye, but with significantly higher powered stats and mana levels. Just like when I ranked up, and just as Fisher and Ari, their natural mana control both received between a 100 and 200% boost. However, their position is almost a kilometer away. Although I did say that we would meet back in this dungeon, I never really specified where. It may be easy for me to find the exact teleport point from before, but to anyone else all these white pillars look the same. I smile, air-stepping in their direction and using my appraisal skill to examine their new status to check for any buffs. Both Maria and Abby's skills are already maxed out at advanced and legendary grades, so the rank up wouldn't target advancement there. They would most likely give unique abilities based on their battle style. The sight of the healer and ice mage both come into my field of vision and 2 buffs pop up in the form of blue text boxes. Area of Total Restoration. Ice Age. At first glance, the names just seem to be more extreme versions of their normal skills. A restoration buff for Abby and possibly an ice defense or offensive boost for Maria. However, the names could be misleading and my appraisal skill doesn't allow me to check the details with more depth. All of the ranked up buffs I've seen so far have been incredibly overpowered, so I'm sure there are hidden metrics to these 2. I won't know for sure until the 2 of them go to battle. I wave from a distance, and they wave back as I approach. Both of them made it to level 505. They succeeded in the rank up and got some extra training in too, it seems. I get much closer and speak up. How'd everything go? A smooth rank up process? What floor did you have to climb to? Maria smiles wide and replies as I drift down to meet them on the stone pillar. It went really well. We made it up to the 23rd floor. That's where both of us started getting really consistent level ups with every kill. She pulses dark blue with excitement as Abby gives off a slow and consistent green flow of energy. Her eyes dimly shine, matching the bright emerald hue as she jumps into the conversation. Yep, success on our end. How about you? Did you find any essence stones at the auction? I smirk, letting them both grab onto my shoulders as we teleport back to the Solaran dungeon square. Yeah, I got us the most powerful gems I could afford. They're similar to the shards we all absorbed before the labyrinth. To use these new ones, you'll need to push that new restoration buff of yours to the limit. As we leave the square and meet back up with Chester, the 4 of us walk back to his home. I can clearly feel the mana control difference in these 2. It's near the point where I was post-absorbing the largest Blue Ogre King's essence. So, in other words, just under half the control of my newly ranked up real body's control level, nearly even with Lydia when we first met. So now they're forces to be reckoned with. Even with such increased power, the question that still runs through my mind is how are they going to handle absorbing these soulstones? The temporary MP absorption buff potions come to mind, but even with a few 100% increase for just a handful of minutes, I'm not positive that'll be enough to pull it off. It's not so much the MP itself I'm concerned about. It's the possibilities of unknowns that rub me the wrong way. Pondering these thoughts, we make our way home to find Ari and Fisher waiting for us. They're both standing with arms crossed and confident looks on their faces as we approach. The blue-haired swordsman is the first to speak up. You were right. 2 guards came wandering into the black market's dead zone, trying to tell their boss something. He chuckles. We took care of them. I pause, wondering if they killed those 2. It wouldn't be the worst option, but they never really did anything to harm us, so they don't deserve it as much as our direct captors. I shrug, but Ari interjects, rolling his eyes before we step onto the porch and walk inside. By took care of them, he means we stripped them of any identifying items, knocked them out, tied them up, and locked them in a cell down below the market, the same as they did to us. When we manage to take out their boss, maybe we'll think about questioning them further. Neither of them saw our faces, so no harm done. Mission accomplished. I nod, a little relieved that my teammates aren't as ruthless as I had imagined, but more interested in the really important topic at hand. We all sit around the living room as I pull out the briefcase from the auction. This is what I managed to buy. With 2 clicks, the containment field begins to buzz in our ears, and the crimson gems light up the room with a red tint. Everyone stares in awe for a moment before Chester speaks. Now, I believe I heard your earlier conversation correctly. You said all of you managed to absorb essence stones. There's a round of nods from each of us. I step back from the open case and motion for him to continue on. He knows much more than me about the stones, so it's better for him to explain. Well, these are soul stones. They're quite different, but share similar properties to the items you've successfully consumed before. Everyone gets closer to the gems, eyeballing them from close range, and Fisher even goes in to touch one. Chester urges him to stop. On physical contact, the process will start, so be careful. Unlike consumable gems, soul stones are a bit more volatile. Just like the essence you all absorbed, once the process has started, it can't be stopped. You either successfully absorb the soul energy along with its absurd amount of mana keeping it contained, or you will give up early and only take in a fraction of the mana while losing the benefits of a soul bond taking place. My eyebrows raise at his last statement. I've only heard of a soul bond one other time in my life. It was when I was making a pact with Ember. However, I don't interrupt and let Chester continue. I'll take it most of you don't have the appraisal skill, so I'll explain its strength and properties in full. This is a 7-piece red Hydra Soulstone collection. Each fragment has roughly 50 million MP, that's hundreds of times greater than the average essence stone. If successfully bonded, each of you will receive the red Hydra's Rage buff. There's a long pause. I, for one, have never seen an item of this class on the market. Anything over B+ is hardly sold. It's usually kept by the hunters that farm it. However, I have seen similar lower-grade soulstones with buffs attached. This will be of a similar nature to your ranked-up abilities. A permanent buff on your status, available to use like a skill at any time you wish. The stronger the monster's soul, the stronger the buff it gives. The stronger the buff, the harder it is to bond. The pause continues as everyone stares down at the stones and rethinks Chester's explanation along with his implied warning. These are unknown powers with unknown buffs. Even with Abby's restoration skill in mind, the overflowing red aura from the containment field still makes this seem like a gamble. My words cut through the silence after almost half a minute goes by. I'll go first. I'll absorb the first stone. Chapter 309. After my statement, there's some hesitation from my teammates. They look at me wide-eyed from every corner of the room. I reply, "You heard me. I'll test it out first to see if it's safe. I'm the one who brought them here. It'd be rude not to absorb my gem first. If everything goes well, we'll know it's safe for you to try too." The expressions on their faces are a mixture of concern and curiosity, but mostly concern as I shut the case on the table and motion toward the door. I'd like to not let anyone think too long about it and come up with any good points to talk me out of trying. Remembering back to the immense amount of energy expelled by absorbing the Ogre King's essence in that shielding room, I point toward the door. We'll need a lot more wide-open space than this. I'm sure it will give off quite the charge. Maria stops me and is the first to voice her concern. I know you have higher absorption capabilities than all of us. I'm sure out of anyone you'd be able to handle that. But are you sure you want to risk acquiring an unknown buff from an A-rank monster soul bond? She's genuinely concerned. Ari tilts his head to the side and adds to her claim. Maria has a point here. We may need an edge, but killing yourself a day before the battle won't help us much. We need to be certain these stones are safe before any of us try them out. That includes you. Abby joins in too. I know my restoration skill has worked without any problems so far, but don't you think this is an unnecessary risk? How strong will those sector leaders really even be? We may be able to beat them as we are now. Her eyes flare green for a split second, reminding me of her newly ranked up abilities. Fisher nods. Yeah, as long as I'm not in those cuffs, these leaders don't stand a chance. I reply to them all after a long pause. Unfortunately, The sector leaders are much stronger than you think. Much stronger than all of us combined. As I said before, one of them is level 651 and their visitor is from an even stronger sector. For all I know, they could be an A-class level threat. We need all the advantages we can get. My teammates don't know I'm not in my real body, so their worry makes sense. I can tell the reason they're audibly doubting the strength of our opponents is to urge me away from making the rash decision. However, absorbing these gems may be our only shot at saving Lydia while also getting to see who this craftsman really is. A massive mana control boost plus an offensive buff from an A-ranked monster is just the trump card we need. It's likely more powerful than that worm I just barely managed to escape from. With the power of a monster like this on the outside, even in the form of a buff, we'll all be much better off. With my self-regeneration abilities on hand plus the added benefit of my body being a copy, it isn't much of a risk for me to try. Going first is the best way to confirm it's safe for my teammates to absorb too. The only problem is they believe this is my real body. I bite my bottom lip and pace for a moment. While thinking to myself, the room is left in silence. Once a few long seconds pass, I let out a sigh. I'll be trusting all of you with another secret. The best way to convince them this is a good idea without thinking I'm insane is to keep those who will be fighting with me in the loop. Or in other words, tell my teammates the truth. They all listen as I describe the body double and hibernation skills I used after a severe poisoning I received from the boss of the labyrinth. While divulging some information, I still keep my bond with Ember and the fact I carry 2 demon cores allowing me to wield demonic energy a secret. Even Chester is interested in what the boss monster looked like, but I keep my descriptions vague to focus on the main points of why it's best to let me test this out. It seems that demonic guardians and dragons are seriously well-hidden knowledge even to high-end collectors and researchers. Telling my party even these small details feels like a huge weight is lifted off my shoulders. Still, due to my cautious nature, it doesn't feel necessary or optimal to burden them with the whole truth all at once. Too much information can lead to unforeseen problems in the future. Once I've finished my explanation, tiptoeing around the parts I'd like to keep hidden, Maria responds with a much more relaxed expression and calm body language. I knew you had a plan. Then she rolls her eyes. You just sometimes make me worry, Jay. The others nod and let out sighs of their own. Unexpectedly, they take my account of the bizarre last few days pretty lightly. I expected them to be mad. Ari points toward the door. This makes a lot more sense. Let's get to it. You had me convinced at body double. I trust you as a squad leader. However, it's nice when you keep us in the loop. Abby smirks. Agreed. Now I have all the reason to push my new buff to its limits without holding back. I'm in. Fisher shakes his head but smiles. It's always something with you, isn't it? I nod, accepting their responses, and releasing all the remaining tension in my clenched jaw. With more confidence in my claim to test out the stones first, the 6 of us leave through the front door and head off into the desert. We walk out toward the east for 20 minutes before the lights of Solara begin to slightly fade. The desert is dark, and the night air is cool. Every few minutes a light breeze passes through, calming the nerves of the group. Although they all agreed with cheerful attitudes, I can tell everyone is still on edge. A small valley in the landscape dips far below the natural desert's rising and falling altitude. This is the perfect place. The dunes that surround us create the perfect light-blocking barrier to conduct this test. I take out the briefcase and open it up on the desert floor. The stones light up the surrounding area with a red glowing light instantly. Everyone takes a step back. Using telekinesis, one of the crimson gems floats into the air, and I hand the case containing the other 6 to Ari. He stands by my right side. With 2 clicks, it closes and the archer leads Chester, Maria, and Fisher a safe distance away. The red stone floats above my head. Only Abby stands near me, less than 2 meters in front, staring straight ahead. Everyone watches with anticipation, readying their magic skills for whatever happens next. I take a deep breath in, then out, letting the glowing red gem drift down toward my fingertips. Abby's eyes track it, glowing brighter green as the stone gets closer. She whispers under her breath, Area of total restoration. Beneath the healer, the same green energy that glints in her eyes erupts outward in a wave of light flowing in all directions, creating a wide circle. It covers a diameter of almost 10 meters and glows brightest beneath my own 2 feet, gliding upward and encapsulating me in a green humming glow. It feels warm and soothing, just like her normal healing magic, but with an aura of strength deep within it far beyond her capabilities before. At the same moment, the red gem falls into my open palms and thick red wisps of energy start to leak from its core. On contact with my skin, it burns. The sensation feels as if boiling water is being slowly poured down my wrists. The soulstone's contents twist slowly around my arms and energy makes its way to my shoulder and eventually over my chest. The searing pain is intense but bearable as it hasn't even entered my body yet. I felt the agony of many mortal wounds far more painful in my previous battles to make these burns feel like a walk in the park. But I'm well aware the worst is yet to come. I grit my teeth as the dark blood-red matter seeps into my chest and the absorption process begins. Chapter 310. The sensation of boiling water trickling down my skin is almost soothing compared to the searing hot waves of energy that begin to enter my chest next. I can sense the nerves and anticipation from the people watching around me, but out of anyone, I'm the most calm one here. Even without the fact that we all desperately need a power-up, I would have attempted this bond myself if there was only one stone. My intuition on energy signatures is pretty refined from past battles. Despite throwing myself into dangerous situations, I know when something is actively trying to kill me or not. These stones, in particular, feel as if they're reaching out with immense and overwhelming power. They may be dangerous, but they don't have the intent to harm anyone without good reason. As the energy seeps into my chest, it feels like molten rock is soaking in through my skin deep into my heart, then pumping out and spreading through my veins. My blood feels as if it's boiling, and my bones and joints heat up like hot stones in the sun, cooking me from the inside out. To say there is an instantaneous, overwhelming feeling of agony that reaches every corner of my body is putting things lightly. A shockwave of truly overpowering energy ripples through me, but at the same time, it carries an aura that feels invigorating while it injects itself into my mana pools. Hundreds of thousands of MP instantly enter my bloodstream, filling the pathways in my arms and legs with the hot red light that slowly oozes out from the crystal's core. I think about activating my plunderer skill as well as self-regeneration to ease the violent nature of the absorption process, but I decide against it to simulate how it would be for my teammates. This isn't just for me. I'm trying to make sure the process is safe for those who follow my lead as well. The blazing hot energy completely fills my body. Boiling mana flows through my veins, and my pathways are filled to the brim. Easily over 1 million MP has made its way into my body, but there's still so much more to go. Barely a second has passed, but one thing concerns me. Although the pain is harsh, overall it's bearable. The damage being done to my insides and skin will be repaired with ease, either through Abby's restoration on the spot or my self-regeneration after the fact. These sensations don't bother me. The crux of my concerns is that the red energy entering my mana pool is not leaving at all. In the essence shards and fragments I absorbed previously, the moment the absorption process began, mana was expelled from my body as it was used up. This is how the mana control refinement process works. The more mana processed through one system, the more open and able it becomes at processing and wielding it in the future. This energy I'm taking in is not leaving my body. It's just continuously pouring into my mana pathways. The rate at which it flows from the ruby-red gemstone increases, and the searing pain envelopes every surface of my body, inside and out. The soulstone's energy covers my line of sight as my absorption rate fails to keep up with the rate at which the energy is being expelled from the stone. I'm completely covered in a red aura from head to toe. I attempt to look around through the thick, smoke-like, energy-dense fog that encapsulates me, but everything shifts from red to white in an instant. Completely white, blank, the desert is gone. Abby is gone. All of my other teammates are gone. The only thing left is the blood-red gem in my hands and the powerful aura that flows out of it like an ocean's raging current. This makes no sense. My surroundings are invisible, even though my eyes are open. Every direction I point my gaze turns out to just be white. The pain from the heat becomes so intense that there's nothing else I can think about but the non-existent flames that surround me. My body feels as if it were burned to ash in an instant as the fiery red aura engulfs me. I can't hear anything. I can't feel anything. Worst of all, I can't see anything but white. This is worse than the darkness of the abyss. At least when everything is dark, one can hope for light. But in the presence of blinding light that blocks everything out, what more could I hope to see? I'm left in a state of shock. I can't tell if this is reality or my eyes playing tricks on me. My mind is still intact, and my perception of the space around me flows normally, but there's nothing to take in. All I can do is think. This isn't the experience I expected to go through at all. Before I become used to the illusion of the white void, a pair of black eyes appears, soaked in the same crimson aura that engulfed me. They're enormous and exude pure power. As they appear, wisps of dark red and black energy fill the empty bright void and creep forward. A hydra's head materializes around its eyes, and the most intense wave of intimidation I've ever felt hits my very soul. It's not filled with killing intent. It's more of a show of dominance. The sudden profound sensation vibrates through me, allowing my mind to comprehend the presence of my body once again. Its mana ripples through me, amplifying the output of the millions of MP coursing through my energy pathways. With such a deep and intrusive wave, even the depths of my soul link with Ember are touched. The sensation allows me to feel two paper-thin connections to both my real body in its hibernation state and Ember hundreds of kilometers away, even deep within a dungeon. It's like a silver shimmering spider's silk thread of a substance not quite made of mana, but powered by it. The thread is only visible to me in this exact mental state. I've never physically seen our bond, but now that I have, I may be able to tap into this feeling again in the future. However, despite my momentary dose of clarity, I'm still paralyzed with what I can only describe as fear. The head of a blood-red hydra towers over me and continues to pulse with dark red light. Every wave that hits me invigorates the mana inside me back to its original state, making the searing hot boiling sensation return greater and greater with every pulse. This makes my skin and energy pathways hotter by the second. What felt like slow-moving molten rock before now feels like fiery eruptions coursing through my veins, threatening to rip my body apart from the inside. I can't move. It's like I'm chained to an invisible wall, just watching the events unfold before me. The constant waves of the Hydra's magic push my mind into a numbed state, but I don't give in. As I bear the pain and stare straight at the unwavering beast before me, I slip further and further from reality. I can't tell if it's been seconds, minutes, or hours. Everything starts to blur as the eyes of the Hydra creep closer. I see 6 more heads behind it with 12 more glowing red eyes staring deep into my soul as my vision starts to fade. It looks like they all want to say something. Their mouths hint at opening, but they never do. All I do know is I have to hold on. My jaw is clenched and all my muscles are tight, but the pressure of the energy waves that hit me over and over holds me down in this illusion of a spiritual prison. It's taking every ounce of my willpower to stay conscious. I can't even attempt to use my mana control or other powers to fight back. The thought of exerting any force other than keeping my eyes open feels like a death wish. Closing my eyes seems like an even worse option. The 7 heads just watch as I'm filled with the remaining wisps of red aura from the main monster above me. Its head begins to turn lighter and lighter as more energy spills out. As the red aura that leaks, it takes the Hydra's pigment with it, making it fade closer and closer to match the white color of the void. As it fades, the Hydra bows its head. The waves of its energy cease. At the same moment, my feet feel as if they've been splashed with cool water. The sensation travels up my calves and to my knees, then around my thighs and all the way up my back to trickle down my arms into my fingertips. The layers of molten hot mana that flow through my veins are covered by this new energy, cooling the Hydra's power to lukewarm. Once the cold energy reaches my neck and seeps into my mind, I receive a refreshing boost of power, allowing me to move and think freely once again. I look down to see the waves of green light that cover my body, intertwining with the red aura and rejuvenating my charred skin and fractured bones. Abby's skill is bringing me back to the real world. The eyes of the monster in my mental prison fade completely into the whiteness, and only 6 heads remain, watching from far behind. I take a deep gasp of fresh air, and my awareness of the calm nighttime desert comes back into full view. The white void is gone. The gem in my palms has completely dissolved into gray dust. The eyes of everyone around me are wide open in awe. Chapter 3:11. I hear my system notifications ringing in my head. Soul Bond. Complete. New buff. Red Hydra's Rage. Body double attribute transfer. Success. Everyone is frozen in place. Everyone but Abby. She concentrates on me with total focus and continues to pulse with green light. My gaze follows her eyes, and I look down at my own body to see the dark red plumes of energy still swirling all around me. My veins glow bright red, and the thick clouds of residue continue to seep in through my chest. However, the pain is gone. It's not burning my insides. In fact, I don't feel different at all. I was expecting to feel a huge uptick in my natural mana control, but the reminder that this energy was only absorbed and not expelled or refined is most likely why the effects haven't taken place. I immediately open my status with the all-seeing eye activated and peer to the bottom of the screen. Its text is glowing red, standing out on my light blue status screen. Red Hydra's Rage. Info. This buff is a unique attribute gifted by a divine beast. It is limited to 7 individuals maximum per resurrection of the Red Hydra. It grants the user a 141% increase in all stats. Capabilities to absorb mana and the efficiency of one's mana control will increase 79% upon use. This buff grows with the user possessing the Soul Bond. The percentage increases will rise as the user's level rises. Jumps in buff percentages may also rise with excessive use of this ability. If the user has abilities that separate their mind from their body, the buff and corresponding soul energy will be available wherever the bonded user's conscious state of being is the strongest. Surplus battle instincts and abilities of the Red Hydra will be granted to the user in times of need. The crimson glow of the text I read is both exciting and eerie. Its contrast on the light blue text screen stands out significantly from all my other skills, but with a quick use of Conceal, I confirm even this can be hidden from sight if necessary. A few lines of text pique my interest. The rule about the buff following wherever the conscious mind goes is a very intriguing condition. It explains why the transfer to my real body was successful, yet the buff is still active on my copy here. I'm not quite sure how this will work, but I'm interested in doing some tests once I get the chance. In the meantime, I'll need to test out how well the buff itself actually boosts my stats and mana control like it says. The 141% increase in base stats is great and all, but my demon's cores, as well as an assortment of gear and magic items, do the same thing. A 79% increase in mana control is the boost that really catches my eye. A 79% boost is well over the expected 50 million MP. It's nearly double that actually, and there doesn't seem to be a time limit or cooldown visible in the description either. It means every point of new mana I refine is basically much more efficiently used while this buff is active. As I grow more, the percentage will only go up. This is an extremely rare and powerful trait to have. My rate of growth will increase even faster. If there are any downsides, now would be the time to find out. I look up from my status to see the eyes of my teammates still on me. Abby is now looking much more relaxed, most likely because the red glow has almost completely vanished from the dark swirling clouds that surrounded me just moments ago. I did it. I successfully bonded. As the remnants of the twisting red energy enter my chest, Abby is the first to speak. She's breathing heavily, and her eyes are still open with concern. That was it? No more than 5 seconds went by. Your whole body just glowed red, and your skin and bones started bubbling and breaking under the pressure. I had to use my ranked-up restoration skills full power on you and myself to keep up. The last shard you absorbed took hours. This one is a bit more violent in nature, it seems. Another awkward moment of silence passes as I open and close my fists and stretch my arms and legs. Everything feels fine to me. Looks like you did a good job putting me back together. However, I don't recall the physical pain at all. Plus, that definitely took much longer than 5 seconds in my mind. As they all listen closely, I recount the events that just took place. Then, I also share the wording beneath the buff on my status. The group comes to the consensus as me, that the original Hydra had 7 heads, and each fragment grants a fraction of its power in the form of a buff. The bonding process is a test of the mind rather than a test of one's mana control or strength. Other than the basics of having to withstand 50 million MP of A rank or higher mana. This is what would instantly kill most, but we have a way to get past the physical limits, negating its overwhelming strength with Abby's skill. Even after my vivid description of the past, Chester is left clueless about the true nature of these soulstones. I've never heard of a hunter actually meeting the creature the stones belonged to before bonding with them. Until now, I assumed divine beasts were only myths. Absorbing a soulstone is usually a simple process to raise a user's mana control and give a basic perk or special move. A progressively growing buff that rises in power as the user gets stronger is incredibly rare. Fisher chimes in. Okay, but how does it work? Try the buff out. I grin. Sure, I was thinking the same thing. Everyone step back. They all do as I say while I, too, back up to the lowest point in the valley once again to activate my new buff. It's as simple as turning on a skill. Just thinking of the name triggers its abilities. The moment I do, my veins begin to glow red just like they did before, and the crimson energy from the Hydra is seemingly summoned from thin air, wrapping its thick mana-dense clouds around my arms and legs. It seeps out from my chest, but I don't feel the sensation of mana being used up at all. My vision becomes tinted red, but my senses are significantly heightened. It feels as if my all-seeing eye is activated but finally focused on only small movements and abnormalities in the desert around me. The darkness of night looks as bright and clear as day. I can notice the sand grinding and shifting beneath my teammates' feet over 20 meters away. My body feels lighter too, and my muscles feel stronger. I take a lunge forward, and my speed surprises me. It's increased dramatically. The only feeling I can relate it to is the one time I used my skill, Final Breath, against my first-floor boss opponent. The world around me feels like it's slowing down as my feet leave small craters in the sand behind me while running forward. A cloud of dark red magic residue is left behind in my wake. My old Berserker skill and Bloodlust abilities share similar traits but have nothing on the pure power and release of animalistic instincts the skill allows me to wield. It doesn't affect my mood. Despite rage being in the buff's name, I'm as calm as can be. I come to a halt after zipping forward tens of meters in the desert in the blink of an eye, then activate my mana manipulation skill to attempt to create my normal shielding effect. Bright pink mana is summoned from my skill bar, draining my MP like usual, but it's tinted dark red as the buff boosts its overall control. The loud buzz of my shielding can be heard from a distance, and I'm confident it's much denser and more resilient than anything I've ever faced or created myself. Nothing is getting through this. I airstep upward, leaving trails of red mana-imbued air in long trailing wisps behind me. With every step I take, I fly faster than I ever have before. Feels so natural. It's clear that I'm much stronger, but the way my body moves and the amount of mana I exert for each action feels exactly the same. It's just being boosted upon expulsion. Next, I summon fire, and the black flames that erupt from my hands are intertwined with the crimson energy. Earth magic too, as well as ice. They create blood-red stone and beautiful pink-tinted ice shards. All of my abilities are boosted by this buff. Not by pure stats, but they gain unique properties being intertwined with red mana. I feel invigorated and much more capable. My awareness of the environment is heightened to new heights too. Considering all of this, I won't know for sure how impressive these buffs really are until I fight something to push them to the limits. Deep in thought with a growing smile across my face, I turn back and airstep into the small valley to meet my teammates and report the good news. My feet hit the ground and I deactivate the buff. The second I do, my body feels fatigued and heavy. My eyelids droop and begin to close. Chapter 312. The red aura around me dissipates, and in turn, my entire body feels like it just went through hours of intense training. My mana bar is far from depleted, but my mouth feels dry, and my head starts to ache. I stumble in my steps for a moment, and my eyes threaten to shut, but I catch myself before falling and keep walking straight ahead. I wince at the sharp pain that flows through my legs, but activate my self-regeneration skill to try and heal my sore muscles as best I can. As expected, it hardly helps. Abby reacts instantly too, using her restoration skill. Its green healing magic expands beneath my feet before I get another word in. The soreness and body fatigue start to fade as I face my teammates. Behind me, high in the sky, red trails of magic residue stay stagnant and slowly swirl in the light nighttime breeze. It gives off a weak and spread-out energy signature but doesn't dissolve into the atmosphere like normal mana or even demonic energy. It's just left behind in trails, following where I previously was. The healer speaks. So how do you feel? And how does the buff feel? I assume it lives up to its description. Even with a full restore from Abby, my joints feel stiff and my muscles are sore. I'm much less fatigued, but my body is still completely exhausted, so that's a good sign. If I needed to jump into battle right now, the minor side effects wouldn't be much of an issue. However, it feels like this kind of fatigue is something only a real meal and sleep can heal over time. It's a good thing I didn't go all out and only tested this power to a minor extent. It seems the drawbacks of using aggressive amounts of the Red Hydra's energy will have unforeseen fatigue and stress on the body. We'll only be able to use this buff in emergencies, or near the end of a battle as a final last-ditch effort. Even after the full restore, I'm not back to 100%. However, the power increase was incredible, and you won't feel the negative side effects until you deactivate the ability. I don't have anything to test it on or compare it to, but it was like I was moving over twice as fast and wielding denser magic while only using my normal energy output. The Hydra's mana intertwined with my own and boosted every movement and attack. I go into more detail about the whole experience one more time, preparing them to face the Hydra, assuming they'll experience the same mind-bending reality shift that I did. Ari steps up. This makes sense. I'll go next. I know the risks and trust one can handle it with your help. He turns to Abby as she begins glowing green to power up her restoration circle. In the meantime, I use telekinesis to float a gem out of the briefcase and up above Ari, waiting for his signal to let it down. We all step far away from the interaction taking place, just like they did for me. A flash of green light washes over Ari, and he nods, letting me drop the crimson stone into his palms. Waves of red energy soak his body, and pulsing green energy comes from the desert floor, constantly rebuilding and regenerating the archer's bones and flesh. This is pretty gruesome to watch. I could only imagine what everyone was thinking the first time around when they were unsure of what the end result would be. Ari doesn't scream, move, or do anything but stand still with the red gem in his hands, allowing the energy to seep into his body and bond with his soul. The swirling red aura seems very familiar. Of course, it seems this way because it's exactly the same as the aura that surrounds me when I activate the buff. But just feeling its presence makes me subconsciously connected to it, even without my buff activated. Less than 5 seconds pass, and the bright red violent wisps of energy subside, allowing Abby to engulf the archer in the full extent of her healing light. Moments later, she takes down her emerald veil to reveal Ari grinning and moving his limbs around to make sure everything is working normally. Upon his successful bond, the others go through one by one. Maria next, then Fisher, and lastly Abby bonds with it herself. Impressively, her area of total restoration stays active even while she's unconscious. It's a perk of her ranked-up buff. If the main body or mind of the user is in mortal danger, the buff activates itself as a passive skill. It has similar traits to my poison resistance, just a lot more extreme. We all let out long sighs of relief as the green-haired mage walks out from her own display of red and green light as the last remnants of red wisps leave her body. Each of them gives me a nod, then turns around to test out their buffs together. They know not to push it too hard after my initial warning, but the allure of trying this new power is too strong. I can't blame them for trying. Plus, knowing how it works so as not to be surprised in battle is important too. I'm left standing next to Chester as the four of them run up the closest dune with trails of red energy following them, all surrounded by the very essence of the Red Hydra's soul. The old man speaks up. You surprise me again and again. This is one of the most interesting items I've ever seen, and each of you have skills and abilities beyond what I ever thought was possible. He gulps, letting out a thin smile. No wonder you have so many people after you. Chester lets out a nervous chuckle as 4 flashing red lights illuminate the desert sky above us. Below, for hunters zip across the sand, testing out their newfound power. I reply, yeah, I'm sure us successfully absorbing these stones will only bring more problems in the future. Though I'm grateful that it will give us the edge in the short term. My teammates all come back, showing the exact same signs of weariness that I did, all to be healed by Abby's restoration moments later. They're all brought back to their normal healed states, but the same hint of fatigue remains. Maria has a cheerful grin on her face. We're more than ready now. It's like we all just ranked up again. This strength and power is on another level. I smile back as the others agree with her and close the case with 2 gems remaining before tossing it into my item storage. Each of them shares their experiences while testing out their new buff for just under a minute. It's been a long day no matter how you frame it. We need sleep before confronting the sector leaders tomorrow. My 4 teammates and Chester all leave to go back to the house. I stay behind, letting them know I'll catch up soon. The streaks of red energy left behind in the desert are very interesting. No amount of flames, MP absorption, or wind magic can get them fully out of sight. They only fade and spread out, like toxic waste, unable to be destroyed or dissipated entirely, clogging up the air. After a few minutes of attempting to clear the residue, I shrug and move on to greater matters. No one ventures out into the desert this far, and will be leaving the city tomorrow anyway. It should dissolve or be blown away by the winds given enough time. There is one last preparation that needs to be taken care of. I silently airstep back to the abyss. While running from the massive worm monster previously, I drained my demonic energy stores to 0. Although I could probably absorb 1 or 2 units from the dungeons back in Solara, filling up from the source will be much more efficient. I won't venture into the abyss. I'm not looking for a fight. I'm just looking to fill my core to the brim, making sure I'm fully prepared for what's to come. About an hour and a half of scouring the edge of the abyss goes by before I take out 4 demonic wolves and fill my core up past 40 units. I'm missing out on precious hours of sleep, but I'm pretty glad I didn't go through that whole soul-bonding process with any demonic energy in my core. Even with my skills deactivated, I'm unsure what all the magic pressure would have done to my body while my mind was elsewhere. I return to the house to find everyone else already sleeping. Worn out from the day's work, my eyes close and I soon fall asleep as well. Hours later, I'm woken up by Maria's voice and her lightly shaking me. It's time to go. The sun is about to rise. Chapter 313. The 5 of us set off in the morning, leaving Chester behind. It's still dark out, but hints of day creep up on the horizon as we venture off into the desert toward the abandoned town and observatory I've been keeping an eye on for days. Our movements are a bit slower than my usual pace because we're not all air-stepping through the sky. This may slow us down some, but it's also a bit more of a stealthy approach. My perception skills are on full blast our entire way to the destination. I don't expect to find anyone out here at this hour, but keeping an eye out on our surroundings is a no-brainer. The path over is quick and silent. Anticipation grows with every step. Once within less than a kilometer of the destination, we all slow down. Eventually, the 5 of us make it to the last high-rising dune of sand leading down to the abandoned village on the other side. Simultaneously, the sun begins to rise. Its golden rays come down to light up the white dome atop the cliff that overlooks the abyss. Its sonar is still active even this early in the morning. A gray pulse of energy beams from the rooftop and soars into the darkness. The act lets out a light buzz that vibrates through all of our ears. We come to a halt as I do a full scan of the building up on the cliff, then whisper under my breath. Just as I expected. 3 figures show up on my radar, one of which is still in the mana-blocking cuffs. They show up in my enemy detection skill, just like the others did back in the underground lair when they were in cuffs. My appraisal and inspect skills cannot sense a single thing about their status. All signs point toward this being Lydia. Next, the level 651 with his full wardrobe full of plus 100% or greater defense items and multiple legendary combat skills appears. My eyes wander down to his solid steel defense buff again, wondering exactly how it works. However, these thoughts soon get pushed to the back of my mind as the final figure's information flashes into my mind's eye. The sight of it makes me feel uneasy. LV? Access denied. Active items. Access denied. Active skills. Access denied. Buffs. Access denied. The eerily familiar? Access denied symbols pop up all over the third figure status screen within the observatory. Even their level is blocked from my vision. It looks just like those error messages that showed up on the man status from the auction. Lith, the man who runs the mercenary guild in Valor City. This has to be some kind of special concealment item. If not, it has to be some kind of special buff or skill. I'm unsure why else their status would be blocked from my vision. I grit my teeth and duck my head down. My teammates follow my lead without knowing exactly why. They're definitely here. 2 inner circle members and 1 hostage. Lydia is still breathing. Sighs are let out all around me, but my mind is elsewhere. As these words leave my lips, our possible options for infiltration begin to race through my mind. I knew coming into this, there was going to be a mystery man. The craftsman. However, I assumed said mystery would be much easier to solve the moment I got a proper scan of him. This is not the case. Fisher replies to me, eagerly waiting to jump over the edge of the dune down the valley and toward the observatory. So it's confirmed, they're here. Let's go taking out. I stare at the desert floor, thinking to myself, but reply after a short pause. We just have to take it very slow. I can't get a good read on one of the members. I'll have to separate him from the others and handle him myself. You all will take on the man who took Lydia, the Sector 4 leader. Got it. Ari replies. Sure, if it's just brute strength and high mana control he's wielding, we can handle him no problem. Abby and Maria nod as Fisher's eyes flare blue. I let out more waves of mana-imbued perception waves to use my all-seeing eye and make a mental picture of the room our enemies are in. Usually, this would be impossible if not inside a dungeon, but with the high-density mana radiation coming off of the device upstairs, it's easy to see how the mana flows in and out of all the nooks and crannies. It's a long distance away, but I have a good enough image to draw the structure in the sand for everyone to see. There are 2 main floors to the observatory, not including the basement. I point to a 2D ring-shaped drawing on the sandy floor. There are 3 XS marked in its center. This is the bottom floor. It's a large circular hallway that wraps around the entire building. There's a main living area in its center, a small circular room at the core of the base. This is where the 2 enemies are keeping the captive, and also happens to be the only entrance that leads down to the basement. I'm unable to fully see what its contents are. Abby's eyebrows scrunch up like she wants to ask why but does not want to interrupt. So I continue, giving her a quick explanation. It seems the basement is lined with that same black shielding that we were trapped in previously at the dungeon hub in Solara. I'm unable to sense how deep it is or what's inside. Next, I point to a circle right next to my first drawing. This is the top floor. It's a circular room with high ceilings. I peek my head over the dune's edge to point at the white structure being lit up by the morning sun. This is the top of the dome. There are many high-density mana items and unstable high-powered equipment being used to power a device on this floor. Keeping the fighting far away from these items would be wise. A moment of silence passes before I carry on. Right now, all 3 people are in the holding room at the core of the base. Abby replies, "So you'll lead the oddball out while we confront the Sector 4 leader together." I nod slowly. Yes, but first we'll need to gather a little more information. It's never a good idea to go in blind when we don't have to. We know they're here, but they don't know we are. They're expecting number 2 to show up with the prisoners in hand. Ari smirks, catching on. So we don't want to keep them waiting. Exactly. The longer we wait, the more restless they'll become. I use my hush skill in a large radius, and the 5 of us begin sneaking toward the observatory mountain's base. The 2 leaders I'm keeping an eye on aren't moving at all. They just stand in the center room of the fortress waiting for us to arrive, possibly conducting an interrogation. Once we dip down through the village and carefully make our way up the side of the cliff, the entrance to the observatory comes into view. I speak out loud with the hush barrier still active. Only my teammates can hear me. The main room is just through the front door and halfway down either side of the curled circular hallway. There are entrance points on both sides. You can't miss it. I bring my hush barrier down and switch to speaking through my telepathy skill. Once the coast is clear, I'll give you the word. Be ready for anything. I activate stealth and jump high into the air, lightly air-stepping up to the roof area where the sonar device sticks out of the open dome. Muffled voices can be heard from below me, with the mana-powered device buzzing in my ears, grasping the faint sounds of a hidden conversation 1 floor below and through multiple walls proves challenging, even for my enhanced senses. I hold my breath and jump down onto the top floor of the observatory, using a combination of stealth, hush, and wind magic to hit the floor without making a sound. Chapter 314. I walk across the room, passing the buzzing machine with crates of mana crystals by its side. The wooden boxes filled with pink gems glisten in the morning light. As I get closer to the stairway that leads down to the first floor, the muffled tones of 2 men having a conversation hit my ears. The first voice I recognize is the Sector 4 leader that I ran away from previously. He has a happy tone to his words today. So what do you think about them? They're the real deal, aren't they? Just like that dagger I have back in the trading office. Genuine demonic matter. He lets out a chuckle and starts to walk around the room, leaving a long pause between his statements. Using my all-seeing eye, I can sense the high-density mana items all over his body. I slowly step forward, trying to get a better ear on what the response will be. Any clues about the man with an unreadable status will be of great help before I have to confront him. Or better yet, slip in unseen and take him out without any risk to myself or my teammates. By the looks of things, the latter won't be a viable option. The items the second man wears aren't even showing up in my perception skills. There's an odd barrier between my mind's eye and whatever item or skill protects their identity. All I can do is try to listen. Still, there's no response, so I creep closer and closer to the stairs. An electronic voice, full of static, monotone, and extremely low-pitched finally replies. The scratchy nature of the static makes me wince. Yes, these seem to have demonic properties. Even so, his voice is clear, slow, and concise. It makes my heart start to race. This is the furthest thing from what I expected to hear from the room down below. There's a long pause before the slow and calculated robotic words escape this person's lips again. But they're impure. Replications, intertwined with demonic energy from a mana-born demon, not from the abyss. The voice stops as the sonar beam behind me sends out another pulse deep into the darkness below the cliff. Then, the Sector 4 director starts to speak again. Well, yes, these were the stones found on this team member from the Vice Region's elite team. The attack on the city of Solara commissioned to take out the labyrinth, along with many of the higher-ranking dungeons nearby. They're a fairly good team. Once my number 2 comes back, I'd like to see if I can whip any of them into shape to work for me. Ha! I even dash. The monotone voice cuts him off. Enough. Chit-chat. I don't care about your plans. Do what you want with them when I leave. You're telling me this woman cleared the final floor? There's a pause. I swallow saliva and listen intently. My heart is racing, and I stay completely still, not wanting to miss a word that comes out of their mouths. There's still no information on this mystery man. The Sector 4 leader replies, with a bit of nerves to his voice now. No, apparently a younger man cleared the final floor. He didn't have any items of value on him, so we threw him in the mana-negating cuffs and let number 5 take care of him. You'll get to meet him soon too, but this one here has the stones you're always looking for to aid in your creations. So I assumed you'd like to see her first. The air falls silent again. Yes. Good, good. I wouldn't have made the trip from Sector 2 if there wasn't something worth my while. Silence fills the entire observatory once again before the sonar breaks the awkward lull. Meanwhile, a few thoughts start racing through my mind. This man just said he was from Sector 2. Based on the superior tone used while talking to the Sector 4 leader, it's safe to say he's a leader too. This means he's probably stronger than level 651. But by how much? He continues speaking. I'll use my artifact. We'll see what's really going on in the mind of the mage who brought us demonic stones. I sense a large amount of mana starting to build up into a small space on the floor below me. All of my appraisal skills are constantly blocked by the man's odd armor, so I can't get a real read on what's happening. However, it's clear a large amount of energy is being exerted. This isn't good. It's most definitely a crucial moment, and I need to act fast. Whatever the Sector 2 leader is charging up, it's about to be used on Lydia. I have to make a decision, but there are too many unknown variables. The mana buildup gets more and more dense. Tens of thousands of MP are being channeled into a tiny space. An equally loud buzzing noise starts to pulse from below me as it does behind me from the sonar. This artifact is extremely powerful. Pulses of white energy start to come up through the floor. Then, I hear a scream, a very familiar scream, one that belongs to my teammate. The Sector 4 leader laughs through the noise. Look who finally woke up. You sure do have bad luck with timing. Hold tight. This will only hurt a lot. Sarcasm fills his twisted words as the buzzing of the mana gets louder and louder, and the readings show it covers the entire body of the other man but concentrates most densely on his palms. Still, his armor suit distorts the waves about a meter from all sides of his body. The man moves toward Lydia, so I make a decision to stop it. I make my move. I let out a deadly wave of intimidation from above, rippling through the metal walls of the observatory, focusing right at the Sector 2 leader with all my might. It's not so much an attack. It's more of a distraction. This is my attempt to bring their attention elsewhere before it's too late. I don't know what that device does, and it's better I don't find out. But I have my suspicions. Lydia knows a few of my secrets. Having someone digging around in her memories would be directly against my best interest. The buzzing halts, and the static-filled voice continues in an irritated tone. It's much louder than before and not focused on anyone in particular, more so to everyone who can hear it. Do we have unwarranted visitors? I feel a wave of intimidation exactly the same as the one I just launched downward come flying back up through the floor to ripple through me. The Sector 4 leader's voice follows in a shaking manner. And no, there's no way anyone would come out here. It's been abandoned by the city for weeks. There's Dash. The angered static tone cuts him off again in slow, calculated words, pausing every few. That doesn't explain the clear act of aggression coming from the floor above. Down below, in the center room, a door swings open and heavy footsteps walk out. Each one makes the very structure of the observatory shake and quiver. A trailing voice of the Sector 4 boss replies but is overpowered by the static tones once again. This will only take a moment. I'll handle the intruder. The concentration of mana from the device the man was using fizzles out, but a new glow starts to cover his entire body. It looks almost like an impossibly thick suit of mana-imbued armor in my mind's eye, over a meter away on all sides of what normal human size would be, just like before. It makes him look very round in my mind's eye, like a pure ball of energy stomping my way. Even so, the mana density he's wielding is impressive. Still, it's impossible to get a proper read on with all the blockers in place. I hop backward, making my way to the other side of the room closer to the sonar. With crates of mana crystals around my feet and the open sky above my head, I'm ready to leave and lure the man away so my teammates can infiltrate the base with better odds. Still, my stealth skill is fully activated, while using air magic and small hush barriers around each footstep. I don't want to give away my exact position until it's necessary. Other than the one wave of intimidation, it's close to impossible to notice me unless I wanted to be seen. Or so I thought. Heavy steps come up the stairs and are soon followed by the ear-piercing static squeaking and scratching sounds. A suit of black armor comes walking up the steps onto the top floor. He stands over 2 meters tall with a mixture of gray and white light twisting around his entire body. The armored Sector 2 leader looks straight at me as if my stealth skills are meaningless. Then, lets out another wave of intimidation multiple times stronger than before. Chapter 3:15. In a brief moment of shock, my stealth skill is lifted, and I'm completely visible on the open top floor of the observatory, facing off against a black armored knight with unique magic swirling around his body. If I had more time to analyze and compare, I'd like to see if the energy coming out of the sonar has similar properties to the knight's armor. At a quick glance, they feel and look awfully similar. However, I don't have the time to run tests. The static rumbling voice that I heard only mumbles of before pierces through the open air to hit my ears at full blast. Who are you? Intruder. The heavy footsteps of the Sector 2 leader make deep indents and cracks in the floor as he walks closer. The swirling energy stays close to his armor at all times. Not even a tiny wisp of it drifts away. I don't take this moment to respond but reach down and throw a crate of mana crystals into my item storage. This opens a spatial magic portal right in front of my enemy, but revealing this one trait is the least of my worries. I turn around and airstep upward out of the observatory roof, grinning that my plan has worked out well. I'm very excited to see what unique skills and items a stronger sector leader has available to him. At the same time, I'm a bit nervous to face this oddball one-on-one. The power gap may be much bigger than I imagine. A moment later, a human-sized hole in the top of the observatory cracks open, blowing metal and stone in all directions as the energy-covered man follows me into the sky. I open up my telepathy link as the morning sun hits both of us with its golden rays, giving all of my teammates a message. The coast is clear. Lydia and the Sector 4 leader are alone on the bottom floor in the center room. I'll keep the bigger threat busy. The sensation of my teammates moving toward the opposite side of the building lets me know they received my message. I turn off my telepathy and activate all my buffs while taking out my fire sword and wind dagger to fight. I want to take him out quickly, but I also need to stall him long enough for him not to get involved in the rescue mission going on behind us. Let's see what you're made of. With the golden red streaks of my buffs coming off my body and the black flames starting to dance on my blade, I airstep down toward the abandoned town at full speed. The armored giant behind me is gaining distance much faster than I thought, somehow accelerating faster and faster the closer to the ground we get. Both of us make it all the way down the cliffside in a matter of seconds, and I duck behind a few of the village huts for cover, charging up my blades with enough mana for a proper strike. The atmosphere is not mana-dense at all. I can get a few strikes off, but my plunder skill can only take in as much energy as my surroundings have to offer. There are small traces of mana in the air, but not nearly enough to charge my blades up to full multiple times in the heat of battle. This is the reason I grabbed a crate of crystals on my way out. It should be enough to keep me going as long as I use them conservatively. While going over my possibilities, a loud crack sounds, making the flat sandy ground of the town shake, making me grip both my blades tighter. The static-filled voice of the man ripples through the air, making himself known. Who are you? Association? Black Ops? Or a private mercenary? I grit my teeth and dart behind a different abandoned hut as the armored man comes closer. His gray and white twisting energy making the air crackle and let off high-frequency squeaks and static sounds. I can feel the man's footsteps approach, so I jump out from hiding and release a wind and fire blade directly at his torso. These attacks are strong enough to make any ranked-up floor boss evaporate before they even know what hit them. To my surprise, the man doesn't even attempt to move. The black and white mana blades hit him straight on. The sounds and eerie feeling of static grow as both blades of energy sink into the ball of energy surrounding the man. They completely disappear before my eyes. It doesn't make any sense. Even the mana readings from the two blades disappear behind a veil of distorted energy, just like my intimidation wave. and just like the status of the man behind the black metal suit. He turns my way. Then a blade of fire and a blade of wind exactly like my own come flying out of the man's aura. I jump high into the sky using air steps to dodge, but the lines of houses left behind in my wake are all sliced clean in two, erupting into black flames after the fact. He copied my skills, or so it seems. The ear-piercing voice rings out through the now flaming town. A dual-element wielder. Rare one, aren't you? My guess is Black Ops. He releases more waves of fire and wind up in the air straight toward me. They seem brighter, denser, and more amplified than before, almost like he is mirroring my attack but imbuing more energy into it, making it his own. In response, I throw up a pink barrier of mana, using my manipulation skill burning through hundreds of MP to block the incoming strikes. The overwhelming buzz of mana on mana fills the air and explodes on impact, throwing me back down to the desert floor. Uninjured, but a bit frazzled at the events that just took place before my eyes. He keeps taunting me while slowly making his way over to the untouched section of the village where I fell. Whoever you are, whoever sent you, does not matter. I'll be killing you and leaving shortly anyway. I let out a barrage of attacks, bringing my MP down to 0, but letting a few of the mana crystals fall out of my spatial magic dimension to touch my skin and be absorbed to force out more. I zip around the town quickly and quietly at my top speed as the Sector 2 boss runs through buildings without a care in the world. I'm much more agile than my adversary, but in pure speed and resilience he's got me beat no matter how it's looked at. Every attack I throw at him is absorbed into the suit of armor that's surrounded by the gray glow. He doesn't even carry a weapon, the person just absorbs every one of my attacks and throws that back at me with ease. After over a full minute of playing cat and mouse, the entire village goes up in flames. My breathing starts to get very heavy from narrowly avoiding my own attacks being thrown back at me. I whisper under my breath, "It has to have a weakness." Right now, the Sector 2 leader seems to just be playing around with me as its prey. He's making small talk and only using my own attacks against me. It seems his defenses can absorb any mana-imbued strike I throw at him. Elemental aspect or not, it doesn't matter the skill, he can absorb it and throw it back at the same or even higher intensity. Nothing I've managed to attack with has even scratched the surface of these mysterious defenses. My battle plan needs to change. I should use his overconfidence to my advantage and strike while he's still mocking me with a lowered guard. The powers I've made known to him are only a fraction of what I'm capable of. However, more tests need to be conducted before I can go all out or put myself in real harm's way. Sitting back against a building split in two, covered in my own black flames, I put away both my mana-imbued weapons and pull out the glossy black blade. I whisper under my breath in an inaudible tone, "We'll see how well that armor of yours defends against demonic energy." Chapter 3:16. I hold the glossy black blade tight in my grip. My demonic blade, or better known as the Midnight Dagger, doesn't have the same properties as my elemental attacks. So, in switching energy sources, the safety of my long-range strikes will have to be sacrificed in order to test out my next move. This is one of my 2 trump cards, the other being the Red Hydra's buff, but I want to save that for when I'm sure I can take this man out. Using something that saps my strength and power afterward at the beginning of a fight is not the right choice to make right now. Using my agility and adaptability to the landscape, however, may be the edge I need to make sense of this barrier skill the Sector 2 leader has. If mana-based attacks are useless against it, he's basically invincible to anyone that stands in his way. The confidence in his voice and fearless movements makes sense. What he doesn't know is my demonic energy may be his only weakness. The blade in my hand clinks against my rings, momentarily making me worry about all of my mana-imbued items I wear on me now. My cloak, boots, chestplate, rings, and amulets all give off minor mana readings. I took off everything near my dagger hand when I went into the abyss previously, although I didn't take off my boots or cloak. They were completely fine even when my body was leaking tens of units of demonic energy. The only mana-imbued things I've seen react negatively are active skills and active mana-wielding weapons. I don't have the time to change my whole outfit, so I'll have to assume my theory is sound. While deep in thought about my next attack, this has given him enough time to locate me and continue his charge. Loud crashing noises followed by violent static waves come closer. Multiple burning huts get holes blasted through them as the Sector 2 leader approaches again. I jump to the sky, putting up a mana barrier on my exposed side and airstepping a safe distance away. My own fire and wind blades erupt from his gray energy and fly up in the air to collide with me while the boss charges forward in a straight line, crashing through the house I was just sitting behind. A straight line of destruction follows his path. The voice speaks up again. A demonic blade. Now you've really got me interested. A worthy prize for when I finish you off. The static tones are combined with a deep laugh this time, sending shockwaves through the air. Maybe I'll actually have some fun. He turns and runs my way again, as I drift down to the fiery mess below. Deactivating my mana-imbued buffs will negatively affect my speed and awareness of my surroundings. But to pull off this test, I'm going to have to take the risk. My feet hit the ground, and my stat-boosting gold and red aura vanishes as I clear my pathways of mana. The heavy footsteps draw closer and closer at an incredibly fast rate. However, my heart beats faster and the corners of my lips curl upward. I stand behind a burning building, letting him approach ever closer. Demonic energy manipulation. My vision shifts to the familiar black and white tones as I channel energy into the dagger gripped tight in my right hand. A wave of relief washes over me as the wisps glide over my silver and gold rings, but don't erupt into an array of sparks. Over 5 units pour out instantly, allowing for the excess matter to leak from my footsteps through the soles of my black boots. Just because my mana-imbued buffs are gone doesn't mean I'm completely helpless in battle. The speed and agility boost this demonic energy overflow is more than enough for what is needed. I still have the element of surprise, as well as being hidden behind walls as the man runs at me in solely straight lines. His movements are easy to predict. I can't sense his mana anymore, but the loud static can still be heard and the vibrations of his footsteps are very loud, practically sending ripples through the sand beneath my feet. I jump out of the way as the Sector 2 leader plows through the small hut I'm taking cover behind. His voice also sounds happy now, but still covered up by a low monotone rumbles. Come on. Don't give up so easy. Show me what other skills you've got. The small hut erupts into flames and its 2 halves fly to the sides. I'm within 5 meters of the walking menace. Even with my demonic vision, the swirling gray cloud remains, covering a black suit of armor. I lunge in and swipe at the energy, swerving out of the way fractions of a second later, leaving traces of the black blade's refined demonic energy to poison the impenetrable defenses I've been throwing mana at for this whole battle so far. To be safe, I only scratch the surface, allowing the black blade to glide through just like it's cutting through air. I shift my body to boost off the ground with a hard step in the opposite direction once the deed is done, only looking back when I'm sure I'm out of range. The sight before me puts a smile on my face. As the Sector 2 boss turns to face me, a large portion of the gray mass around his body is torn away. The invincible swirling energy ball now spews off in many directions as the familiar golden-yellow sparks fill the erratic wisps. The portions of matter that leave the man's body armor crackle and disappear into thin air as the sparks engulf them completely. His voice yells out from the bright yellow growing display. You can wield it too? I've never met a human capable of such a feat. The sparks grow more and more, but this doesn't stop me from running further away. This battle may basically already be won, but there's no point in dragging myself down with him if I don't have to. The irreversible reaction will destroy him, but if he gets a hold of me beforehand, I could very well be a goner too. Boy, I still have to kill you, but I would like to at least know your name. The cool and calculated tone of the man facing certain doom echoes behind me without an ounce of fear. Demonic energy still leaks from the bottoms of my feet as I dash away, but as I glance back, the sight behind me wipes the smile right off my face. Although the gray wisps are in fact disappearing as they're eaten up by the sparks, that's all that is affected. The aura of energy around the sector leader crackles away into nothingness, but the black suit of armor remains. It's eerily similar to the demonic guardians I faced on the 25th floor of the Solaren Labyrinth right before the boss room. Before I can even gulp, his robotic tone rings out again while the final spark sizzles out. It's time to get serious. White and gray wisps erupt from his armor once again, and he pulls a long black sword out from seemingly nowhere. In the blink of an eye, he runs toward me, now with nearly twice the speed and much lighter, carefully placed steps. The static crackles get louder and louder before the armored sector leader is less than 10 meters away. I grit my teeth and attempt to lunge to the side, but he glides into my path with ease. With this movement speed and precision, he was clearly in control the whole time. He was merely playing around. The black blade slices right through my stomach before I even get a chance to defend. Chapter 3:17. As fast as the blade enters my stomach, it leaves in the same manner, making me cough up blood and my vision go blurry while the outline of an armored man slowly steps away from me, pulling out his sword. In the same moment, a tingling sensation starts to make waves over my body, all coming from the stab wound's source. My arms and legs grow slower while my senses also start to dull. Static fills my ears and white and gray wisps of energy completely cover my vision momentarily before I land on the solid ground, letting the dagger fall from my hand. It's still covered in black and purple wisps, but grabbing my weapon is the least of my worries. Blood pours from my midsection, and even worse, the man turns to face me from about 10 meters back. He towers over me and speaks again. This battle was one-sided from the start, but you still interest me. I'll give you one last chance to give me your name. I'll remember it every time I use that blade. His armored gaze turns to the dagger on the ground as I continue to cough up blood. My body is starting to freeze up. As much as I want to stand to my feet, it feels as if my arms and legs have become paralyzed and I can't move a muscle. If this was any normal blade, I would have been right back in battle even with a mortal wound like the one I received. There must have been some kind of poison on that long sword he uses. I begin to push out the remaining demonic energy overflow from my pathways and deactivate my manipulation skill. I don't bother to answer his final offer to give my name, because I don't plan on losing this battle. Although he's overpowered me in this small clash so far, the test I managed to pull off has given me an idea of the nature of his defensive power. The aura that surrounds him is a feature of this suit. It's not limitless, but the only time I'll be able to break through it is when my speed and agility are severely lowered. So far, all mana-based attacks have been useless, and that's the only time I'm able to access all my buffs. Using demonic energy while my buffs are active or there is competing mana in my pathways can only end poorly. Doing so is how I got into this whole body double situation in the first place, which has turned into quite the blessing, allowing me to fight without the fear of death, but also the curse of not being able to use my true power. However, letting this Sector 2 leader defeat me or even get away to take on my teammates is an even worse option. I'll take him out here and now, whatever the cost. He raises his sword up in the air, walking closer to me and speaking up again. The silent type, aren't you? Well, dash. Before his long sword swings down, the passive poison resistance skill begins to clear the toxins from my bloodstream. I wait for the last moment to activate my stat-boosting buffs once more and dart out of the way, then zip into the air using wind magic. He follows in an instant, cracking the ground and releasing a burst of static and white energy beneath his feet. A shock wave of energy ripples through the town, and the remnants of demonic energy on my dagger that still rests on the sand below goes up in an eruption of sparks but leaves the solid black core of the blade perfectly intact. Retrieving my weapon is the least of my worries right now. The more important thing is getting high enough into the air and changing my direction erratically to lose the armored man on my tail. Every fraction of a second that passes, I lose a few meters of ground. Every turn I make, he follows with incredible precision. The speed and accuracy of the Sector 2 leader's movements are on a whole different level than when he faced me in the town earlier. I have nowhere to go, especially up here in the sky. I assumed my air magic would give me the advantage, but my opponent uses a similar technique, stepping off of clouds from the gray mist that dissipate the moment his feet leave them. There's no point in taking out my mana-imbued blades. They'll just give him more energy to hurl back at me. Still, I pull my flame-imbued sword from my item storage to prepare for the worst. Using demonic energy seems to be out of the picture too. In the air would just leave me stranded like a sitting duck. Even with the capabilities it has of breaking through the first layer of defenses, he'll surely release a much more powerful strike than before, now that he's seen me get up so easily from what should have been a fatal injury. There's only one logical option I have left to try. Red Hydra's Rage. The sun fully rises above the horizon, casting its light upon the observatory, the burning town below, and the two of us soaring high into the sky above it all. Red wisps of energy materialize around my arms and legs, then more dark crimson light surges from my chest. In a moment, the battle scene around me feels very different. The charging suit of armor air stepping up my way seems much slower, and the flickering black flames on the town below crackle as each individual particle of sand tens of meters away shifts and churns from falling planks of charred wood and burnt brick hit the desert floor. Closer to me, I get an actual close-up look at the man trying to kill me. The fluid flowing motion of the energy around him has intricate layers of mana shielding wrapped around each other so finely packed I still miss some even with my all-seeing eye now being boosted by the Red Hydra's aura. I take a deep breath in, and the air that fills my lungs invigorates me to charge my sword with mana. Pure pink and white energy courses through my veins, but the red aura around my arms combines with it as the two seep into my blade. It glows red-hot, imbued with magic ready to strike. I stop my upward trajectory and release an attack down on my enemy before zipping across the sky. My speed and awareness have more than doubled, and in the blink of an eye, the upper hand in this battle has shifted too. A muffled static yell of surprise rings out as my black flaming mana blade, shrouded in a crimson aura, collides with the gray protective energy barrier. The wisps of energy and light react differently to the red aura on impact, slicing through the shielding rather than just being engulfed. A loud metallic clang rings out even as I air step away. Red aura erupts from both sides, flowing out of the protective barrier, unable to be absorbed. I curve around the man's opposite side to let out another charged attack of mana and Hydra's aura. This is more of a distraction for me to gather enough time to make a plan to use demonic energy against him, but the results of this distraction seem to be of much greater power than expected. Metallic clangs that sound like mana on mana echo in my ears as the black and red blades of energy I've thrown make contact with the lower layer of the black armor the Sector 2 leader wears. Seconds later, a black blade of flames comes erupting out. I easily dodge and send in a few more from various angles. It happens again. The clangs of my blade hitting his armor sound, the red arrow flowing out unaffected by the odd gray energy, and then finally that static-filled voice yells at me again. A soul bond too, and a powerful one at that. This must have been from at least a level 1000 beast to actually hit me. His tone is still unwavering, rippling through the air with confidence as he knows the attacks I'm throwing are severely weakened even if they make their way through his defenses. Still, I zip around the air, leaving crimson trails of energy behind me while swinging my sword almost a dozen more times and dodging the attacks that come flying back. The clangs of my upgraded and imbued blade ring out over and over again as they hit the armor, and some attacks are even countered with his sword. However, even though the red streaks make their way through, the damage is negligible. The more you use that power of yours, the worse the after effects will be. No one has come up with attacks capable of breaking through my creation's defenses in years, and you've managed it twice. I commend you for that. Truly a fine fighter. At these words, I realize he's right. Every attack I throw barely damages his armor at all, and without demonic energy, the swirling mist around his body absorbs most of the power behind every one of my strikes. I grit my teeth and mutter under my breath while releasing 2 more blows from over 15 meters away. I need to get a clear strike on him without that defense up. There has to be a way to attack him while that shielding is inactive. A full-powered strike without anything holding me back could do some serious damage. While dodging the returning mana blades, a glimmer of my glossy black blade reflects the sun's light up at me. My demonic dagger. I need to use demonic energy and mana at the same time. Chapter 318. The only clear path to victory in my mind is taking advantage of the destructive properties of demonic energy and the raw power of my mana-imbued strikes, buffed by the Red Hydra's aura, to obliterate the gray energy-filled defenses and land a clean attack right on the main body of the Sector 2 leader. From what I've heard him yell, he's proud of his creations. So much so that it seems like he's fully reliant on them. If I'm only the second person to ever even hit him through his armor, I'm sure he won't see what I have in store for him next. This blind confidence of his will be brought down by a sprinkle of chaos. He won't expect me to do what I'm about to do next. There's no planning for an attack like this. I start air-stepping downward, keeping my eye on the glimmering black dagger below me. For maximum speed, I switch my long sword out for my wind dagger and only block with a pink and red mana shield while dodging attacks and sending back small wind blades to deter him from following too closely. The man yells out as I zip down past him. Giving up the high ground so easily? You've made your final mistake. He laughs as more of my mimicked wind strikes rain down on me from above. Even the amplified attacks are easily blocked by my red Hydra's aura. The Sector 2 leader may be adding his own energy into the attacks before sending them back, but the mana he's absorbing is still only that of my base form. So, the buffed strength of my full power easily defends this. The man now towers above me high in the sky. Now let's finish this. Waves of static fill the air as he propels himself down toward me. At the same time, I'm falling down to the ground with immense speed, with eyes only targeted on one prize. Hitting the sandy floor with a thud, and picking up the glossy blade, I reply under my breath. Let's. Now with a wind-imbued dagger in one hand and a demonic weapon in the other, I jump up off the ground toward the man swinging his sword down at me. Through the rippling, swirling waves of white and gray magic, each one of my previous strikes with the Hydra's soul energy, fully imbued in it, has managed to leave small scratches and dents behind. This isn't nearly enough. Checking my item storage, I find that the crate of mana crystals I've been draining MP from to power up my stat-boosting buffs and mana-imbued attacks is running low. There's less than a few thousand MP worth of crystals remaining. A few high-powered mana attacks are all I have left to throw. I need a clear shot without the shielding to make them count. It's now or never. The sector leader comes down at me as I accelerate, air-stepping faster and faster into the sky. I recall Ember telling me that truly wielding demonic energy takes a lot of time and practice. If demons and high-powered, ranked-up monsters can wield it while also using their normal mana-imbued skills, then it must be possible for me too. The conversation between the two sector leaders flashes in my mind as the perfect imagery of the 25th floor Black Knight's armor comes soaring down toward me. He mentioned that those guardians were creations of a mana-born demon. This further confirms my theory that it's possible, but also makes me frustrated at the fact that there is so much I don't know. Demonic energy manipulation. I mutter under my breath with gritted teeth. Mid-air step, still covered in the blood-red aura of the Hydra, and charging up a blade of wind in my opposite hand, I activate my demonic energy ability. It instinctually feels right, but the sensation that follows is far from pleasant. My vision shifts to black and white but flickers back to color in an instant. A sharp pain moves through my body, and the skill is deactivated before I can even summon any refined energy from my core. Demonic energy manipulation. I repeat the words, still air-stepping up to my attacker, closing in, and relying on my final trump card to work. My vision flickers to black and white again, this time for a moment longer. I know what I'm about to do will most likely lead to my own demise, but this being a copy of my true form and considering the risks that allowing this man to fight my teammates poses, it will be worth it. The cool sensation of refined demonic energy gushes out from my core and starts to move down my left arm, solely headed toward the black blade in its grip. I push out a full 5 units, saturating the blade before the sharp pain cuts my vision back to full color. The Sector 2 leader is nearly within striking range, and things are moving far too fast for me to second-guess any of my actions. I swipe the black dagger across my body, following the movement with my wind blade wrapped in mana and the red Hydra's soul energy. The moment I release the two, I watch sparks fly and immediately dive away to avoid the reaction that takes place. The increased speed and agility my buff grants allow me to dodge the incoming long sword, but not with ease. Even with all my items, abilities, and buffs, this man's base stats are close to my own right now. His level could be over double mine, but all of his status data is still unable to be seen. The gray barrier around his whole body goes up in a sea of sparks, and the wind blade I threw out after soars through without a hint of resistance. To my surprise, the white wind-imbued mana within my attacks goes up in sparks too, but the red aura around it flies through unharmed. A loud metallic crunch is heard, and through the violent golden display of sparks, fragments of black armor fly into the sky too. The frustrated static yell of the man calls out, this time sounding less robotic and a bit more human than it did before. The armored sector leader falls to the floor as I take the higher position but turn to make another attack. There's no time to waste. A pair of frightened eyes peer at me from a cloud of sparks, red aura, and disappearing white and gray energy. The full right side of his black armor has been cracked and sliced through, and part of the man's helmet is broken too. As the sparks start to vanish, the man's eyes turn more stern, and the fragments of black armor start to grow back piece by piece. The red aura is being left behind as we both fall toward the floor. I mutter to myself, that wasn't good enough. I need to dash. What I was about to say was I need to send out a stronger attack, but this brings a much more urgent matter to my attention. As the sparks disappear on the man's armor and are replaced by a new white and gray mist, the exact same golden crackles of energy on my own left wrist carrying my demonic dagger become much more apparent. I knew this was a risk, and quite honestly thought it'd be worse, but I thought the damage to my opponent would be worse too. I need to finish this. I air-step down at the falling suit of armor faster and faster, using every last drop of MP from the crystals in my item storage to charge up my wind dagger. More importantly, the red Hydra's aura grows deeper and darker red around my blade, amplifying the base energy waiting for the attack to be pushed out. At the same time, the sparks grow on my opposite hand, and I wait patiently for the ground to get closer. Closer. Just a little closer. Finally, I air-step within range and activate my demonic energy. My black and white vision appears, and it's much more stable this time around. At least for a moment. I take less than a second to channel another 5 units into my dagger, but in doing so, I momentarily lose speed in my fall. To continue air-stepping in rhythm, the skill needs to erratically switch my vision back from black and white to normal color. This is the only way I'm capable of using both at once. There must be a better way, but this is how I'll have to do it for now. Every time my vision goes black and white, it's nearly impossible to feel the mana flowing through my body, much less see the mana attacks at all. When I use my normal mana abilities, sensing demonic energy is an impossible feat. The only thing in common with both is that the red Hydra's aura can be sensed and manipulated by me in both states of mind. Still, this conclusion hardly helps as I'm less than 10 meters from my target, and we're both less than 20 meters from the flaming town and the hard desert floor below. I grit my teeth and power through, slashing both blades across my body as I get closer to my enemy and the ground. The closer the ground gets, the faster the swapping of black and white vision to full color gets. The more I concentrate on one, the less effective the other becomes, but I need to use both right now for maximum damage. Violent golden sparks grow larger and larger on my left arm, moving toward my shoulder, but I pay them no mind. What's done is done, I need to focus. There's a loud crack as we both hit the desert floor. A rippling shock wave blasts all of the remaining houses out of the way, creating a crater in the sand. On impact, I stab the armored man through his center with both my demonic dagger and crimson-colored wind blade. The shielding around him is instantly evaporated by the overflow of tens of units of demonic energy from my core, and the armor is shattered by the amplified power of the red Hydra's wind blade imitation. The man within the suit is sliced in two, and the eruption of mana energy and sparks flies high into the sky. With no regard for my own safety, I hit the ground with equal force. At the last moment, I instinctually brace myself, but the speed at which I hit the ground makes me lose over half my HP. Even through the immense pain, and the sparks beginning to take over my body, all I can do is grin as a few ringing sounds fill my head. Level up, level up, level up, X46. 48 levels transferring to main body. Level transfer complete. Success. Body double level adjusted. Success. Body double rank up. Yes. No. Use absorption. Skill. Craftsmanship. Mythic grade. Yes. No. Use absorption. Stat mental strength. Points. 377. Yes. No. My vision is distorted by the violent explosions of energy and fragments of burning village all around me. On top of that, the sparks on my shoulder have now traveled down to my chest and are starting to spread even further. With all the adrenaline coursing through me, plus the sparks growing toward my neck, the only logical decision to choose is yes on everything and hope for the best. Begin. Craftsmanship. Mythic grade transfer to main body. Craftsmanship. Mythic grade transfer. Success. The sparks engulf my full body, and my HP begins to fall very quickly. Begin. Mental strength stat point transfer to main body. Mental strength stat point transfer. Success. My red Hydra's rage buff deactivates. The extreme fatigue makes my limbs feel too heavy to move and my eyes shut. Begin. Rank up. My body starts to glow white, but my mind is in a daze. Rank up. Success. My HP bar hits 0 before I can see the final result. You have died. Chapter 319. Red wisps of energy float up in the air as a briefcase, black dagger, silver card, and some gold coins along with small numbered pins, demonic stones, and miscellaneous items fall to the desert floor. Beside this pile of loot, the shattered armor of the Sector 2 leader sits in a pile. It's inactive, and there's no sign of the body. Actually, there's no sign of any bodies. The small abandoned village continues to burn down to the desert floor, and the black flames flicker out. The golden sun continues to heat the sand in the surrounding area just like every other day. A light breeze passes through, recalling the battle that just took place and moving the crimson residue around, but not fully ridding the landscape of its streaks. Meanwhile, up the cliff atop the observatory, another battle is about to take place. Maria leads the group of 4 as they enter through the front door of the white-walled dome on top of the cliffside. She whispers under her breath, "Jay can handle himself, he's trusted us to do our part. So we'll trust him to protect us and do his." The metal door swings open with a click, and Ari, Abby, and Fisher follow Maria down the curved hall. Everyone glows lightly using their personal magic while gripping their weapons tight. A loud man's voice can be heard through the halls of the building, echoing louder as they approach one of the doors that leads to the center room. "You sure got lucky, but we'll find out everything soon." The sound of keys being twirled around his finger jingles as he continues. "Did you hear all those loud bangs out in the desert? I'm sure he'll be coming back any moment now. They don't call the Sector 2 leader the Untouchable One for nothing. He's a master craftsman, supplying most of the higher-ups in the Dark Continent with unique gear and items that can't be found anywhere else. That suit of armor has fended off rank beasts. Whoever came by just made their last mistake." A manly, arrogant laugh can be heard as the 4 team members line up at the door. No one says a word. There's a unanimous nod of agreement that leads to the door being kicked down and the sight in the center room is revealed. A tall, well-built, middle-aged blonde man wearing impressive enchanted gear, including a silver pin labeled 001 and a golden one labeled 004, stands over a table, looking down on a bloodied and battered young woman with white hair and determined ice-cold eyes. "Lydia!" Maria yells after the metal door is blasted down, and a barrage of ice, water, earth, and spirit-imbued crescents fly toward the surprised sector leader. An equally caught-off-guard look appears on the Ice Mage's face at the appearance of her teammates after many long days of being told they're also being held and tortured. The large armored man glows in a silver light on instinct as the attacks all hit him. Ari lunges forward, eyeing the keys that were jingling in the man's hand fly through the air. Meanwhile, Abby, Maria, and Fisher charge extra attacks. This man is over 100 levels above everyone else in the room, and his gear is a step above theirs too. It'd be naive to think one sneak attack is all it would take for someone like him to be taken out. The second barrage of energy crescents hits the same area of the room as the walls shudder and debris from the attacks fill the air. The sector leader lets out a pulse of his own mana while yelling. "It's you? How? What is the meaning of this?" The angry man's face is revealed as more of the debris falls, and it shimmers silver like metal. All of his body is coated in the same metallic coloring, and even after taking on a ton of high-powered attacks, there isn't even a single scratch on him. He yells out again, raising gauntlet-covered fists in the air as they begin to glow white. "I'll kill every last one of you. This is what I get for handing out favors to the association. Isn't it?" His expression gets angrier and angrier as more crescents of energy continue to barrage his silver-colored body. More pulses of white light come off the gauntlets as Fisher yells to the group. It's his buff, the solid steel defense, plus that shielding artifact. We'll need to attack with more than just this if we want to do any real damage. At these words, the Sector 4 leader turns to the swordsman who outed valuable information about him that no one should know and makes a punching motion in the air. A wave of bright white energy is released from the right fist and hits Fisher head-on. In response, the water user activates his ultimate defensive buff in return, but is pushed back by the immense power of the blast. He's propelled through the side of the observatory, making two huge holes in the metal and stone. The desert sand and morning sun can be seen from inside. Without hesitation, the sector leader punches with his other fist at Maria, who is running up on his opposite side trying to get an attack in. The same result happens. Although Maria doesn't activate her ranked-up buff, for fear that it may get everyone else in the observatory hurt, she is still pushed through multiple walls of metal and stone while blocking with mana shielding and an ice-imbued sword. The angered shimmering man turns his gaze to Ari next, the man that stole his keys and is running to Lydia to unlock her from the mana-negating cuffs. Not so fast. In an instant, the sector leader charges up his gauntlets and throws another attack at the archer. Ari saw what happened to the other two teammates when they tried to block, so he jumps off a summoned white orb of spirit magic to narrowly dodge the incoming attack. Even so, it's very close and smashes another massive hole in the observatory's side. Impossible! He punches with his opposite arm while lunging forward to let out an attack at closer range. Ari summons another orb of magic and speeds out of the way, letting the unique energy attack narrowly miss him again. In the cover of the falling debris and exploding walls behind him, the archer throws the keys downward for Abby to catch. Then peeks out, waving his arms at the angry metal man. "Pathetic, you couldn't catch me if you tried." He smirks and turns away, hopping on summoned orbs of spirit energy through one of the holes the sector leader's attacks just created. The ground rumbles beneath the building as the silver-coated man jumps out following the archer that baited him to do so. "You're all dead. Every last one of you." Before flying through the hole in the wall, he turns back with a surprisingly cool and calculated expression. "I'll be back for you too when I'm done with them. Don't worry, I won't forget." His sarcastic, sly tone shifts back to an angry yell while flying up into the air after the archer. His yells turn into an uncontrollable battle-crazed laugh. Abby mutters to herself, running over to the portion of the room where Lydia got blasted back in the rubble, still connected to the table with cuffs. "I guess anyone that joins an organization like this has to be a little crazy." She gulps, chuckling to herself while gripping the keys tight and using earth magic to sift through the debris to uncover Lydia. At the same moment, the silver-coated man flies through the air on a crash course for the archer, gracefully soaring through the sky. He's making his way down the cliffside toward the open desert, right between the destroyed town and the observatory up on the hill. Fisher and Maria both see the silver man glistening in the sun, following their teammate down the cliff. They use water and ice steps to follow and support Ari in the battle that's about to commence. Chapter 320. If all of you were easily pushed back by my gauntlet attacks, do you seriously think you have any chance of defeating me? You should have run while you still had the chance. Another laugh comes from the silver-coated man as his fists continue to charge up, glowing brighter and brighter white. "I'm the strongest one in this sector. I can feel the mana coming off you three. You're all newly ranked up. You may be skilled, but you don't stand a chance against me." The white glow from his gauntlets begins to spread down his arms and soon covers his body until the Sector 4 leader is covered in a glistening silver and white aura. He hits the desert floor feet first with a ground-rattling thud. Ari, Maria, and Fisher all land around him in a triangular formation, glowing with their respective personal magic. In the blink of an eye, blue mana crescents and white arrows are released in a barrage against the man all at once. But before they even make contact with his defenses, the white aura of mana around the enemy expands in the shape of his body to deflect every single attack. He swings his fists 2 times, letting out dual pulses of energy at Maria and Fisher. This time, instead of trying to block, the two of them have time to dodge. Like I said before, it's pointless to run. The white energy that's usually propelled from his fists comes out from his shoes seconds later, shooting the silver man forward with blinding speed. He aims right for Fisher as the swordsman jumps out of the way from his previous attack. The air ripples as the 2 metal fists clash with the ultimate water defense, mana shielding, and dark blue sword of the water mage. He grits his teeth and looks the man in the eyes who captured and tortured his longtime teammate. Still, even with all of his strength, the newly ranked-up elite hunter gets pushed back with ease. Mana residue flies in the air as Ari and Maria fling attacks from the side to support, but none make it through. The silver-coated man charges up his fists again, all while continuing to punch the blue barrier over and over, pushing Fisher back. He continues to laugh manically while pushing at the barrier. You kids really thought you could take on 2 sector leaders and make it out of here alive. You must have been given false information, or dash. But his words stop as the blue eyes of the swordsman start to show a glimmer of red. An odd feeling comes over the Sector 4 leader as his heightened mana control senses pick up the odd shift in power that fills the air. Crimson tendrils of dense red mist start to wrap around Fisher's arms and flow down his sword. Next, the bright blue shield of water starts to become stained blood red. As the leader hesitates to make his next punch, the swordsman takes this opportunity to send out an attack of his own. A dark red crescent of water comes out from his sword, but the man manages to snap himself out of it and block before it's too late. An incredibly loud clang shakes the desert sand as the aura of the red hydra fully covers Fisher, and his attack makes a dent in the sector leader's armor. The man is shocked. He jumps back in surprise, placing both gauntlets up in a fighting stance with a baffled expression across his face. What is this skill? As he says this, the eerie feeling of the red energy that activated around the water wielder starts to creep into his mana senses from behind him as well from 2 directions. A blood-red arrow and an icy crescent surrounded in the crimson energy come flying at him to pierce through the solid steel defense of his back and right leg. Blood trickles out onto the desert sand. The sector leader yells out in pain, glowing brighter white and recovering his body in a layer of silver to protect the slash mark and arrow hole from the previous 2 attacks that broke through. There's no way. You all have this skill? So are you not from the association? Is this a private dealing? Is this dash? Another 3 crimson attacks manage to hit the man mid-rant. Fisher collides with the man's charged gauntlets again, expelling energy and leaving another dent while Ari and Maria land blows to his exposed back and legs. The 3 team members now zip around, leaving trails of red energy behind. Just moments ago they were entirely outmatched, but now it doesn't even seem fair. Although it's impressive the leader has enough strength, defense, and mana control to block 1 red hydra-aided attack at a time, that's not enough. His speed and agility are severely lacking to stack up against these 3. While occupied with Fisher in one-on-one combat, Maria and Ari zip around sending one attack after another to weaken him slowly. Over a dozen attacks are sent out, and the desert sand is stained with the silver man's blood. He continues recharging his gauntlets and activating his steel defenses in hope that one of the 3 attackers misses a beat. In the pattern that's occurring now, he only has enough time to cover his vitals and slowly use up his own MP stores. At the same time, Ari, Maria, and Fisher are meticulously sending off attacks to wear down the man like he's an overpowered boss in a dungeon. Their main concern is the low amount of mana stores left too, plus the possible dangers of exerting this much MP with the buff in such a short time. Ari sends off another arrow and steps off a red orb of light to get a better position for his next attack, while Maria sends off an ice-imbued attack, thinking carefully about when to activate her buff. Fisher clashes again with the man as all their mana collides with another loud clang. In all the noise, Ari yells out as he feels the presence of another hunter coming from up above on the cliffside. "It's time! Let's finish this!" The desert floor begins to rumble, and glowing red spears of rock come from below to fill the battlefield. Abby flies down to enter the fight, yelling for Fisher to move out of the way. He takes a step back, channeling white energy into his boots just like his fists to crack the stone away. But Abby has already sent up more to cover his legs and wrap around his chest and arms. More pulses of energy crack the stone, but in his weakened state, the leader is trying to conserve as much mana as he can. Abby has just shown up with a full MP bar. He lets out a muffled yell while trying to run from the assault, but Abby's earth magic is slowing him down to an alarming degree. She turns to Maria and nods. Maria places her sword in her item box and takes a step forward while raising both hands toward the Sector 4 leader. A whisper can be heard escaping from her lips after a deep breath in and out. Ice Age. The blue glow that erupts from Maria's hands outshines the crimson aura of the Red Hydra momentarily, but is engulfed in a blood-red veil a fraction of a second later. Ari and Fisher both run in opposite directions away from the blast as Abby slowly backs up while hovering higher and higher up on a platform of stone, keeping the struggling sector leader in place. Beneath Maria's feet, the desert freezes solid, and out from her hands, 7 pillars of crystal-clear ice shoot forward. The first impaling the leader straight through, and the 6 that follow trap his frozen body in a hexagonal-shaped pillar of ice. It's all over in an instant. Everyone watches in awe at the sheer amount of ice summoned from the blonde hunter's palms. It wouldn't seem believable if they didn't see it with their own eyes. Even with the red wisps of Hydra's soul creeping around the impressive mass of ice, the power exerted from a single strike is far greater than any attack they've ever witnessed. The desert falls silent, and the sand starts to settle. Golden rays of the morning sunlight glimmer through the structure of ice down on the frozen sand below. Level-up notifications ring in Maria's head before her buff automatically deactivates and she falls to the ground, passing out. Soon after, Ari and Fisher instinctually power down their buffs too, collapsing to the desert floor. Abby falls to her knees last with a grin across her face while activating a restoration circle, spotting Lydia make her way down the cliffside with a million questions racing through her mind.